nitro floor pan and put a Mark 1 Golf over the top of it. And that goes very fucking well as well.
I'm really struggling here now, since this fucking server change.
Yeah, there's no grip.
I mean, you should get some grip, but I'm miles off the others. I wasn't...
It's also up to 21 degrees track temp now, so starting to warm up and get there.
$55.2. Fuck me.
I was winding Monkey up last night. You put after race one about how's the setup, Monkey's like, yeah, I've had to change Cambric Castle. Like, oh, how's the setup, Monkey? Kieran's like, well, I didn't get a fucking setup from anybody. Like, no one else is driving the Bentley, Kieran.
Monkey's got the joy of me testing before his fucking race, hasn't he?
Monkey don't need the testing too quick, that boy. As I keep telling Argent, Monkey's had a podium this season.
The way Argent drives, I'm not fucking surprised.
Yeah, he ploughed his way to a podium yesterday in race one. I don't know, 4th overall. What makes me laugh with Kieran, and he's put it in that ticket. Oh, but I had the run on him. Fucking amazing. You had the run on him. On the point of entry into the corner, you was not alongside.
Not even close.
Therefore, having the run means jack shit.
He hit his rear corner.
That was his excuse at Silverstone for the 4 or 5 fucking things that went in on him. It's like, yeah, but I had the run on him. He was half a second back.
Yeah. Yeah, Kieran's still 53.7, so he's, what, half a second off his fastest time, if that. I'm fucking miles off mine.
Right, let's deal with some customers while I'm sitting here, innit?
So Sector 1 seems okay, on par with Kieran, as in, I'm half a second off him, which is what I normally am. Sector 2, I'm miles off him. So it's Sector 2, I'm losing my time. The fucking S.
Schumacher S's.
Yeah, I'm struggling to get it up there. I'm bouncing around. Just don't feel right. Like I say, you might just need to rubber in a bit, but I'm not fucking changing anything because it's fucking like...
No, I don't think you need to change out, dude.
My pressures are low. No, I suppose I'll have to open my brake books, haven't I? So.
Do 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 do. God, I love it when people contact me in French. Fucking idiots. Here, Dan.
Yo.
Nearly bought a boat yesterday.
Fuck's sake.
Nearly bought a Porsche. Nearly bought a boat.
What was it you were telling me?
What?
You need to stop buying these random ass projects that you end up having.
Yeah. As I said, I didn't buy either of them. Fuck's sake, I translated that and that just translates to, is this still available? Fucking idiots.
Fucking brilliant.
To be fair, that's generally the question that's asked probably the most on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. But it was in French, wasn't it? So it's like, you know.
You're like, oh, what's he for? Oh,
Yeah.
is it still available?
Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, bonjour, je t'aime, cela, Torres disposable. Yeah. Is this available? Well, now I know that, don't I? We. We.
His next one is
There's a disappointment in your voice when you said
available.
that, though.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, next he'll ask me if I can deliver it to France.
France? Where the fuck's France?
France. Well, it's close to France. It's down at the southern end, right? And it's very similar to France, but it's said slightly different.
It's near Monaco.
It's the Facebook
No, there's nowhere near him.
All right.
Monaco.
Near Flange.
Meccano.
No, what did they used to call it? You watch some of the old early races then. Not Meccano. Christ, I can't remember now.
Morocco?
No.
Oh, Monkey Boy will be disappointed when I tell him this. Lost his race lap record at Imola to John Goodey.
Oh no. I think he'll survive.
He was fucking determined in race 1 last night. He had John behind him for about 8 minutes. John tries to go around the outside of the chicane. I'm surprised it hasn't gone in as a ticket as well, to be fair. Tries to go around the outside of the chicane, did John. The Monkey was just parking on every single apex he could. He's like, I'm not fuck catching the guy in front now. I cannot let this come past me. Parking on every single apex. Fucking brilliant. The minute John went on gravel at the chicane, Monkey instantly went, well, that'll be a fucking ticket against me then. Oh no, I bet I'm going to lose my pro qualifying lap record at Imola, didn't I?
Oh.
It was on pole last week.
O'Reilly, wasn't it?
Oh god. Oh, it's still a Honda, I don't care. 140.767. Oh, I smashed it. Nearly 2 seconds.
Nearly 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I still can't get over our pro times from a few seasons ago that were like, yes, I'm in the 56s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you're like,
fuck, you're rapid, mate. 56. Woo! DJ Phil's nearly on the 56s.
Yeah, now we're just knocking on the door of 52s.
Yeah, boy. Well, them seasons ago when you used to be like, what's esports pace? Esports pace. Oh, we're only 4 seconds off the esports pace. Nice. And then you improve by that 4 seconds and realise that the esports pace is also improved by 4 seconds.
Well, you keep doing, you keep fucking off.
Fucking, where's he gone, man?
I know, yeah, he's like mid-sentence.
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry.
He must be on, like, you know,
I forgot
the fairground.
I've plugged my proper microphone in. Sorry, I've plugged my proper microphone in and Little keeps stirring, so I keep forgetting that I'm not talking through my headset anymore.
I was going to say, you get halfway through a sentence and next minute you just disappeared.
Sorry, I keep
It's
getting...
like my headset. You got my headset on.
No, I've got my mic plugged in, which obviously on my desk, and I keep checking Little in his basket next to me.
What is going on with this car?
Still fast, Mike, so just chill.
No, but it's just like certain corners. That's honestly, I'm well off the pace.
What
it's
corners
the S's.
Oh, up the Schumacher S's. Up the hill.
Yeah, the sector 2 is where I'm losing most of my time. I know I'm losing it in sector 1 compared to Riley, but the gap difference between my fastest lap and his is about that, so I know that's about right.
Fuck me, Overtaker's put a lap time in fast conditions. Holy shit.
He's only got 1.1.
He'll probably be sat there telling Cloud how slippy the track is. Weather's not set right. Can't be real. I'm sure we're meant to have 18, wasn't we, today? Who were we missing?
We're still missing Friedman.
Friedman and Gary, they're always too late entrants. Good old Gary. That'll be 17.
I'll be back in a minute.
No worries, dude. Hoopert's Ben. Sylph. Mike Tarlock. Matt Wright, yeah. Friday, Dan. Friedman's missing. Overtaker Jamal. Hoffner's in. Skunky. Oh, McGowan. Said he misses race 1. Zero. 41020 Tarlock.
Yeah, it's the entry into the Schumacher S's that I'm losing on the time, I think. Just not confident in there at the minute.
Are you touching the first curb?
The right hand one?
No, the left hand one.
I do touch the left hand one.
Some people have not been touching it.
I have been.
Sometimes
my
sometimes
fastest
I
time
haven't.
is with that.
Are you sure it's that? Are you sure it's not then the corners after?
Yeah, I don't feel too bad on them. They feel about where I've been.
Monaco, that was it. Monaco. That's how they used to pronounce Monaco. I remember that when I was trying to suck myself off. And just in case you're wondering, I couldn't.
What, say Monaco or suck yourself off?
That's, yeah, say Monaco. Yeah.
I was thinking the same.
The other's easy.
Don't ask, you never know, Mike, you know what I mean?
Exactly. You gotta ask these questions. Fucking hell.
Presumption is the mother of all fuck-ups, man.
Can we just clarify
absolutely.
which one you couldn't absolutely
do? Exactly. Pronounce Monaco. I couldn't do it, but now I can. Now I can do it. But Christ, my back hurts.
Fuck's sake.
Oh, God. Funny here, though, isn't it?
I'm just going to take him into it.
Look at Tardock, look. 4/10 off. And his buddy. Fucking hell, that's a lot of curve down, isn't it, on the way in? Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not surprised you didn't answer straight away. You were still busy trying to straighten it out.
Creeping up.
Oof. Are you normally that greedy on that chicane as well? Or was that
No.
you?
Oh, damn, I thought you were
Yeah,
me
Dan.
I just nearly missed the apex of turn 1 by literally cutting it. I was that far inside.
It's a funny old turn 1 here, isn't it?
I normally bounce over the apex, but fucking hell,
Yeah.
I think my left wheels were on the inside curb.
Don't worry about that apex, mate.
I'm not. I'm fucked. This lap's fucked anyway, so I'm going to see if I can get one more before my fuel runs out. This entry that's bugging me, I had it right in the previous fucking thing.
Christ, sure, another one gets right up on the curb, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's better. But you don't lift as long by doing that if you get it right. The problem
Yeah.
is, if you go that split little tiny bit too much up the curb, you're fucked.
I've never run that curb. Maybe that's why I'm 3 seconds off the pace normally.
I never used to, but I found that if you as you go on the curb, you're already starting to turn left.
Yeah.
And if you do that and get that right, it's not too bad. Oh, that's
And what's
deep.
that 50-metre mark board there for that chicane?
No, in between
between.
150, yeah.
What gear were you in around the last corner?
Second.
Track's up to 22 temps. What was it in the practice lobby? 25?
25 I was up to.
Getting up then, innit?
Oh, it's deep.
Oh, yeah.
Here's
It's a funny old
Freeman.
corner, isn't
Yeah.
it? This is a shit corner as well.
Yeah.
I hate the stadium section.
It's fucking Mickey Mouse is
Yeah.
fucking it.
It just feels
Trying to
like it
get
was
that
just kind of
one.
like planted there to extend the circuit a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I remember when it was introduced, and all the Formula One
that's
drivers
the
at the
tank
time, saying how fucking Mickey Mouse it was.
The Nordschleife layout of the GP section, you obviously come through turn 1 and then it's pretty much a left on exit of turn 1. So you cut out the stadium bit.
Yes, that's
Better.
right.
Much better.
Yeah. Well, that's the original one. It wasn't the original layout, but but that's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Stadium section just feels like we're going to add, we want to extend the Nürburgring. What should we do?
Yeah.
Oh, just plank a couple of left-handers here.
Yeah. Exactly that. It's shit.
Nürburgring or Hockenheim? If you had to pick one.
Are we talking current or Hockenheim?
Yeah, so Nürburgring GP,
I don't
Hockenheim
know.
GP. If you had to bring one back to F1, or which one do you prefer?
Nürburgring.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Maybe, yeah. I
think two
really
totally different tracks, aren't they? Like completely different. I think.
Yeah, but
I used to
which
be-
do you prefer? Is the question,
I used to be a big fan of the original Hockenheim.
The long one.
When they changed, the long one. When they changed that, I had the right royal ump about it for ages. So it's like fucking Hockenheim shit. No, you can't go on the Nordschleife now, mate.
Watch this.
Watch it. Yeah. So, but I've kind of the new one has kind of grown on me a little bit these days.
Yeah. I think the stadium
Right,
section
the
is.
fucking people who are banned.
Oh, fuck's sake.
One job.
One job. And that don't get done right.
Who is banned?
I don't know if there is any. I've just.
It's only fucking. There's been nobody here. Viper's on a quali ban and he's not here.
That's right then.
See? So, no, I didn't need to. I already knew that. God.
Fuck
Right, I'm
off,
winning
you
the
already knew it.
I'm winning the com box, so I'll see you later. Best of luck. Kelly, where are you? Yeah. Promo images, promo vids now. So where did Dan put them? Stream stuff, sign-ups, colours, tables.
Nürburg, good or bad?
Test
Well,
it.
good. We got to big it up tonight because of the 24.
We have got to big it up. I think we will big it up. Let's big it up.
We'll big it up, shall we? Because of
Fuck
the 24. It's a good link to the 24 tonight.
Imola, Indy, Kyle Army, Alton. Oh, Dan didn't do a Nürburgring one. Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do then is fuck it, change that.
What's Hooper doing? Is he having a fucking race start or what?
Not a clue. I'm not currently looking at the minute.
Oh, he was at the right end of the pit lane, just sat in the fucking, like the fast lane, like a.
Right, yeah.
He's gone now, but he was.
Promo images. Just don't put it in here. Right, season 4.
Right.
There, server config, Steam stuff, tables, test items.
I'm guessing you were hacked over something
No.
this week, were you?
Why?
Because you said don't accept events from you or something.
Oh no, I meant on the event page.
Right.
So, like, just decline on the event page.
Okay.
You know when there's a load of names to look at, and you're trying to do the grid order?
Right.
I tend to just remove who's declined instead of looking at who's confirmed, especially Pro-Amps. You know, there was like 28 confirmed last night. So it's easier for me to see who's declined than go through who's confirmed or not done any. So what I meant was, I obviously didn't word it very well. What I meant was just like decline sort of on the event page for Pro-Am. Right. But I knew you wasn't racing anyway. I'd messaged Sutty the same thing, because I know he's not racing at the minute. So it was just basically a way of me sort of going, I knew you, because I knew you wasn't racing, right. I know Kelly's not, but his name's there, great.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, well,
right.
I haven't been on Discord for a week, so...
like I say, I know you're not racing till Watkins, so with you it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right, let's start in... In fact, hang on, I need to take game sound up, because that's quite quiet. Let me get that up first. There we go. 5, 4... Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Simplay Motorsport. We're here for the final races of the week. It is the Pro Night, and the action will begin with some fantastic reverse grid racing here at the sunny Nürburgring. It's a beautiful day here in Germany, and what a time to be at this iconic circuit. I'm your host, Matthew Duffin, joined in the box by Kelly. Sweet and Sticky in your box once again. Tonight, Kelly, good evening. Nürburgring, our destination tonight. It's going to provide some drama, I reckon.
I reckon too as well, and times are close again. There's a lot of drivers with a lot of confidence tonight. People are feeling good. The sun's shining, and it must be helping their moods. The couple of drivers that we've spoke to this evening got a lot of confidence, so bodes well for a good night tonight. Stay tuned.
Yeah, bodes well for a very, very good night tonight. We're currently watching Tobias Hoffer come down the start straight. New driver to talk about, Cal Seth, is in the Ferrari 296. New driver on the grid. From Norway as well, so great to have another driver out there on the track. Believe there should be 17 cars for race 1. We're awaiting Gary Leach, and then I believe 18 cars for race 2. McGowan cannot make race 1, but will be here for race 2. Now, the championship standings makes for very interesting reading. We gained one driver, we lost sadly 2 pro drivers this season. No more Darren Yeo or Sky Schundelmeyer for the remainder of the championship. So championship standings look like this. It is Silf. I believe it's David Silf, who is on 531 points, 17 points clear of his teammate Tordok, as Gary Leach now gets into the lobby. Is at 120 points back to Hoopert in P3. Benny's P4, 136 points off the lead. Then it's O'Reilly, Overtaker, Dan Davis, Matt Wright, Michael Harris, Jamal Clouden, Will Friedman, Mike Matthews, Viper, Skunky, Tobias Hoffer, Patrick Ledger, who's back after an illness, and I think he's been working for the last couple of weeks as well as a bit of an illness. So great to see Patrick Ledger back. Gary Leach from Carlos, McGowan, Fraser O'Brien, Joe Bates, Richie Michelle, Colin Pocket. Skene should be with us, I believe, next week, so hopefully he'll be out there on the track as well. As then Cal Seth making his debut at Simplay tonight. Constructors Championship wise, MSA 274 points clear of Team Audio Sport, 349 clear of Greasy Bandits, 399 clear of Simplay Racing. Then it's Old School Racing, Quantum Motorsport, Team FBR, Team SPR, Effect Motorsport, and Red Rum Racing. Teams and drivers can start to drop out of the race tonight, really, Kelly. So it's that time of the year where we start to see the little red numbers appear on the spreadsheet that tell us they're no longer in contention of this championship.
Yeah, we're over halfway through the championship now, aren't we?
We
are.
Into
the second half now, aren't we? And still some great tracks to go this year as well. So yeah, so we starting to see who's capable of pulling off the championship. But I've kind of got my ideas it might be an MSA car. Yes.
Speaking of the calendar, here it is for you. So obviously Nürburgring tonight. We head to the Red Bull Ring next week, the second of our night races, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of April. Weather's looking very interesting. Very, very. But you've got to think, Austria, known for its sort of weather at this time of year, isn't it? Bit of snow and all that. You're in the Styrian Mountains, so, good possibility of that.
So It should be a good night, that one. The Red Bull Ring always brings up good racing. So,
and a night race.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
cool temperatures once again there. And unlike Imola, not really a lot of places to gain that tyre temperature.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting one to see what the drivers are going to do in all three categories. There we then head to Alton Park in a fortnight's time. That's for round 10. Watkins Glen in 3 weeks. That's for week 11. And week 12 we end at Simplay's home of Donington Park, straight but just before that Thursday night come off comms Friday morning, and then at Donington Park it's the touring cars. So there we go.
Absolutely.
Time that well, haven't we?
We certainly have, yeah. Rob Smith is asking if we could turn me up a little bit. Apparently I'm a little bit quiet.
Yeah, that is no problem.
That'll never do. I've been quiet my whole life. So, if Matthew could do that
Done.
in your with your twiddle your knobs, as it were. Donny Park, Alton Park as well. We're looking forward to actually going to Alton Park in the British Touring Car Championships. I think you're going to be joining us, Matt, are you, maybe?
Believe we are this year, yes. I believe everything, all being well, work-wise, obviously depends what work comes up in the commentary world. I believe we are heading to Alton Park, yes.
Absolutely. So we'll certainly be having a little Simplay drink if anybody wants to join us at Alton Park. That, of course, is a very, controlled and, what am I going to say, pleasant experience. Doesn't get Larry at all, So
if you come for a drink at Alton Park, don't click it Kelly. Just a little word of wisdom. Don't click it Kelly.
Yeah,
Me and Gary sat in the back of Gary's brother's bootlet, and we saw what happened when you click it Kelly. So
this is it.
Nothing actually happened. Kelly just shouted at Dan. Kelly actually just shouted at Dan, but with Dan being his son,
trousers.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's going to be an interesting night. And while we're at the Nürburgring, Kelly, let's obviously point to the big event coming up, Maybank Holiday weekend. The weekend after, I think it's a week and a half after the season ends. The Nordschleife 24 in honour of cancer research, for cancer research, try and raise some money. We've done it before, about 4 years ago now, Kelly. God, how time flies. I think so. I think it'll be coming up to 4 years' time this summer that we last did it. So time has flown since we last did it. We're now obviously doing it again this year for cancer research on ACC. Driver swaps available. Get on the Discord. Get signed up to it through the Discord. It is on SimGrid, but the event is hidden. We're trying to keep this for the FBR and Simplay drivers. It will go live with about 2, maybe 3 weeks to go before the event for others to sign up. But we want to try and keep this as like an in-house event, just so that it is for the guys and girls who are obviously wanting to take part in the event. But it's going to be fantastic. That is on the weekend of, I'll give you the exact date.
3rd or 4th of May?
It is the 3rd of May, which is the Saturday. The qualifying takes place on the 2nd of May. We're doing a qualifying, one driver only qualifying. That driver cannot start the race, in which we'll bring you a very short broadcast of that qualifying session live. Because we can obviously set the grid manually now, that is the way we're going to do it. We're going to do the qualifying the night before, meaning that on the day, a little, like half an hour practice session to get everybody into the lobby, and then we can get the event underway. We don't need an hour's practice session. We don't need to then do a half an hour qualifying or whatever. Do the qualifying the night before. We can get ready on the Saturday to just go racing. And obviously, the big thing, Kelly, as well, we don't want drivers retiring. We don't want drivers rage quitting. It is an event that is, just a bit of fun, but also to raise awareness about cancer and obviously to try and raise some good money for the fantastic charity.
Yes, absolutely, Matt. And, as I said, it's not about egos, it's about a good cause. So, it is a challenge. It's a challenge to drive. We've said this before. The Nordschleife is incredibly difficult to drive. So if you think you're a bit of a driver, step up and have a go. And the only competition you need to worry about is the track, really. It is mastering the track and going the distance, doing that endurance. For those who haven't sat and worked the date out, that's the 1st May bank holiday weekend. So don't be worrying that, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour stint and I'm not going to have time to recover, because you've still got the bank holiday Monday to recover. So it's a bank holiday event. So get involved on whatever level you can. You could be a driver. I'm sure we're going to be inviting inviting various guests into the box throughout the 24. I'll be here for a part of it. I do have an event in the evening, so I can't be here for the whole 24, and I'm certainly not going to drive it. But I will be here for a few stints throughout the day and the night for the commentary. And as I said, if you want to come in and join us for half an hour or whatever with the comms, please do. But importantly, we want everyone to put their hands in their pockets and donate whatever they can. We did £1,200 last time. 4 years ago. We're a much bigger much bigger channel community than we were before. I would like to double that. That would be nice.
I've just looked at the date when we did that. You know, as I said, 4 years, Kelly.
Yeah.
The 30th of April was 4 years time since we did the Nordschleife. 3 days before we do the Nordschleife this year.
Right. Wow.
Hey, really is. Let's get into the grid order. They're coming through onto the back straight now towards the chicane. Shorter grid again tonight in the Pro Series, but for round 15 of the season, it should have been Carlos on pole. It has been glitched out due to somebody not being here. So it's put Gary Leach on the front row alongside Patrick Ledger, who's just span and got back to the front. Tobias Hoffer will then be P3 now. Then it will be that of Skunky with Mike Matthews near him. After that, it will be then Will Friedman and Jamal Clouden, who, by the way, let's see what Jamal Clouden can do tonight, because Kelly may have popped the curse on him. Mark Wright is then from Dan Davis in this list. That'll be 8th and 9th for them two on the grid. It's then Hooperton O'Reilly. It's Overtaker and
Hooper.
That says Darren Yeo on the screen. I don't know why that says Darren Yeo, so that's a bit of a mistake on that. And either way, we're going to have to cut that video short because we are towards the end. But it is then Hooper, O'Reilly, Benrook, Sylph Tardock, Casliff and Carlos at the back. But it's Gary Leach on the front row of the grid alongside that of Patrick Ledger. Who is going to be the one to take the race win here? Let's see what's going to happen. It's green and go, and it's down the start straight. Patrick Ledger has that initial launch over Gary Leach in this race at the moment, and they come down towards the hairpin corner. Ledger so much lights on the brakes, Dan takes avoiding action, hits the back of Hoffer and clips into, guess what, Jamal Clouden. So Kelly's curse has came true at turn one. I said it was going to happen off here, and now we've got Skunky looking up the inside of Gary Leach in towards turn 3 of the stadium section. Gary's gone deep, that's going to allow Skunky through. It could also allow Matt Wright to get past at the moment as well. They're side by side, Matt Wright very wide, Gary Leach a little bit wide, and Will Freeman, he's got a 2-for-1 special if he can go around the outside of Gary Leach here into turn 5. What can Will Freeman do? Easy as you like, and as Gary Leach would once told me to say that now stuck, thank you mama for the carrots.
Absolutely. How do you like those apples? So Clouden and Dan, oh God, really? I mean, the commentator's curse is real, absolutely real. So don't think that it's ever not. So Dan is down the order, so is Clouden, and they got some work to do, but they are on the back of the crocodile. So anything could happen in this racing, as Clouden is having a look at Sylph. I started on with Tardock, who's made up some places. Him and O'Reilly going forward, Ben Rook in between them at the moment, as they all get bunched up at the top end of the circuit here, and it's 3 wide as they go back onto the back straight, if you can call it straight. It's all pushing and shoving between Carlos and Sylph and Tardock, and Ben is in there as well. So I'm sitting in Dan's car watching forward as they come up to the chicane for the first time. Again, 2 into 1 doesn't go through the chicane, but they all managed to get through just about. Ben going backwards.
Yeah, Ben's he's had a horrible run at the first part of the chicane, and he's being swallowed up by the rest of the pack. Matt Wright, though, trying to get onto the back of Gary Leach, is being hunted down by Overtaker. You've got Hoopert in there on the back of Overtaker as well. Bit of a gap back to Mike Matthews, who's got a bit of rear damage. Then it's Tardock, then it's Hoffer. O'Reilly looking up the inside into turn 1 on Tobias Hoffer. Can't do it there. Dropping back down to Ben and Dan. The Audio Sport boys not having a great first lap. That's Overtaker round. And I don't know if he was moving or not, or if he'd finished his spin, but Dan nearly collects the front end of Overtaker there, and will be very thankful that he did not. But for Greasy Bandits and for Team Audio Sport, not the start to this race they'd have wanted. Who's that? The Mustang there with a bit of damage, I believe. Is that Tardock? No, that must be then Hoopert, who has dropped down the order. So if him and Overtaker had a coming together, because he's got front end damage and he was right behind Overtaker.
Yeah, Dan's just swallowed Hoopert up quite quickly, and he's on the back of him quite fast. Clouden's already past Hooper, and yeah, I was looking at the comments. Good evening, everyone in the comments. We'll get to you in just a minute. To Jamie Brazier, Rob Smith, Alexa Marshall, and all the others. We'll get to some of your comments in a moment or two. It's all action at the moment.
Just going to point out, Kelly, that Skunky had a great GT4 week. Solid start to this race. He's really got to get his season going. 8 tenths off the lead at the moment. Matt Wright still hunting down after Gary Leach. They're coming into, that's just after the Schumacher S's. Mike Matthews with them as well, and Mike's gained 2 places, obviously, with Hooperton Overtaker having a moment. O'Reilly, quickest in that practice session, I do believe. He's the man that's hunting down Tordok now. Clouden is in trouble again. That is with Kalsith out of the left-hand bend. Overtaker's now going to gain on the pair of them, but the Greasy Bandits boys last and penultimate last at the moment in this race. Not the race they'd have wanted in this start. It has gone horribly wrong, and well, you put the curse on Jamal. I did say that you would curse him off air, and you have done just that. And for those people, and I think PN said it with Alexi last night, I think PN said the same thing. The commentator's curse is a real thing. It is a legitimate thing. As Mike Matthews going side by side with Matt Wright down in towards turn 1, they come down past the Mercedes-Benz stand into the Mercedes-Benz arena. He gets very close into turn 1, and there's O'Reilly 3 wide with Carlos and one of the other MSA drivers.
Yeah, Tardot got just touched the back of Mike Matthews. Back of Mike Matthews' car looks like it's been to hell and back already. Looks pretty badly scuffed up, but Tardot just putting his stamp on that as well. Didn't do any harm, but it was very close. And these guys going for it here, and Tardot in 8th, Hoffer in 7th, Matt Wright, Mike Matthews and Gary Leach all in close company, and Gary seems to be struggling with that Lexus a little bit.
Doesn't seem to be getting the best out of it, does he, Gary, at the moment? And I don't know about the trolley train, but Leach, we're going to have to come up with a name for him, the Leach locomotive, I reckon, because this is absolutely crazy at the moment. Gary is pulling them all along one by one as they chug down the straight through the Dunlop hairpin. There you go, and back uphill towards the Schumacher S's. Matt Wright still on the back of Gary Leach. Then it's not Tobias Hoffer, it is Mike Matthews. That's a big moment through the Schumacher S's, runs wide onto the gravel. Hoffer's going side by side with Tordok. Hoffer avoids Mike nearly into Tordok, and Mike loses 2 places. Hoffer keeps hold of the position at the moment. Now Mike's got his teammate behind him of O'Reilly, who looks up the inside, and Mike's not going to defend that one too hard. He's going to let O'Reilly go. He knows O'Reilly's got pace around here. Look at Hoffer and Tordok side by side into the kink now. And here they come, the big Bentley and the big Ford Mustang.
Absolutely. Mike Matthews put one wheel on the grass and it cost him 3 places. That's how close these lot are. Gary Leach still holding these up, but O'Reilly, and they're into the pits. That's Matt Wright,
Hoffer,
and whoever I'm on with,
O'Reilly.
So
Will Friedman's already in the pits as well, Kelly, and there was one of the MSA cars and Jamal Clouden in as well. So that is Hoopert also in, and Jamal Clouden. If we just drop back from Matt Wright, from Mike Matthews, there's Sylph, there's Dan, there then is Carlos, who's side by side with Dan. Dan trying to go right around the outside of turn 1. Little bit of contact from the pair of them, and Carlos lets Dan go. I think Carlos know that he just tapped the rear of Dan and Ben Rook. So even though Dan's had and Ben have had a bit of a nervy start to this race, they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. They're out of the podium, I think, but they're not out of a top 4. Even Kalsef and Overtaker are on the back of this train. Will Friedman's done his pit stop and he's ready to go. He could be on for an undercut here, but it's a great fight at the minute. Sylph on Mike, Mike on Sylph, Carlos on Dan on Sylph, Carlos on Dan.
Yes, indeed, and Jamie Brazier says the Leach line, which, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Yeah, and Alexi Marshall has stopped shouting now in capitals, and says the overcut strategy here from GT3 Pro-Am and Pro 4, remember. So, Alexi, our Wednesday night commentator. If you didn't tune in last night, you can go back at some point and watch her on the YouTube, as well as all the races that have been here at Simplay, all 5 years of history, all available for you
5
to watch.
years this August. Incredible. Gary Leach gets a poor run out of the onto the back straight here, and just manages to defend that inside line over Tordok. Now runs it out to the outside. Tordok got very, very close to Gary there. I don't imagine Tordok's going to go for it. He does. He's tapped Gary. Gary. Gary's in the wall.
Naughty. I think that was naughty, to be honest.
Tordok's in. Mike's in.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll leave that one for the stewards, but Gary won't be happy about that. He was defending for his life. I was beginning to think, he was going to be the KLF of the of Pro there.
Patrick Ledger in the pits from the race lead as well, so that's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Will Friedman. Like Alexi says, overcut was the strategy to play here, and we know that Dan normally likes an early pit stop, but Dan obviously may have done his homework and realised that the overcut is the strategy to do. He's on the back of Sylph. Dan actually looks like he's pretty comfortable in that Porsche tonight, but whatever happened lap one, turn one, looks like the Porsche's got a little bit around here. Now, the interesting thing, Kelly, is only 4 cars gain weight at this track. That's the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, the Ford. The BMW is the big one that gains weight, gains 31 kilograms out of 40.
Right.
But the Lamborghini's then the second most with 16. Every other car bar then 4 lose weight at this track, meaning they're not the best round here. But Dan, most successful at his circuit, normally goes pretty well. Patrick Ledger's out the pitch, just looking at my track map. Car 9 is behind car 208, so overcut may be strong, but Will Friedman's pace has put him ahead of Patrick Ledger on that leaderboard. We'll wait for them to update as they come into Sector 1.
Yes, indeed. I'm on board with Dan, who's all over the back of Sylph for what is second and third at the moment, but of course they haven't stopped yet. 8th place downwards, everyone has stopped, and in that 8th place is Ledger, so we'll see. What have they got left? 5 minutes of pit window left, so yeah, they've got to do another lap if they want to.
Just shy of 2 minutes a lap as well, Kelly. Sorry, 1 minute 54's they're lapping at the moment. Let me just take a look. Yeah, 154's 55s, so just shy of 2 minutes a lap. You really don't want to chance this and leave it too late, because you could easily be caught out here.
Ah, yes, indeed, absolutely. And my laptop's decided to restart itself and do updates. Oh, thank you for that, laptop. They have a mind of their own, don't they?
Yeah.
So, yes, indeed. So, Sylph just does the fastest lap. Oh no, Ben Rook just done the fastest lap. So we're trading fast in laps at the moment, Matt. They're tumbling the times as the track 24 degrees and optimum. So maybe this track's starting to rubber in a bit now. Or
maybe
it must be.
Maybe it's starting to rubber in. We've got Dan on the back of Sylph. We've got Ben on the back of Carlos. Carlos also on the back of Dan, to be fair. Dan's not got away from him massively. No. Skunky pitted from the lead, so let's see where he comes out in relation to Will Friedman. You can just see on the small track map in the bottom corner, 2 cars at the very top of the circuit. That is Friedman ahead of Ledger. Let's not forget, Skunky's not. He's only just gone green. When will he come out the pits? Because this could be very crucial. In fact, we're going to jump to Will Friedman, and let's see where Skunky does come out. Wait for that P to disappear off of his marker. There he goes now, but Will Friedman is already past and ahead, and Skunky is ahead of. So he's Skunky jumped Ledger. I think that is more Will Friedman's pace than the undercut that has made him jump him there.
Yes, I agree, absolutely. As I say, earlier Dan was saying that the Porsche is better around here, so you would like to think that Will Friedman has got the hang of it as well this evening. So looking good for him.
Looking very good for him, and Dan always seems to go well around here. We've dropped back to Ben Hoopert and to Kieran O'Reilly. Closest fight on the circuit at the moment, and Mike Matthews not a million miles away off the back of O'Reilly either. So it's Skunky, so it will be Friedman from Skunky from Ledger, your net podium as it stands at the moment. 3.5 minutes until the pit window opens so far. Lexi saying that tonight's Pro Race is 6 degrees hotter track temp than Pro-Am. Well, that's because Pro-Am had a full lot of cloud cover, I do believe, whereas tonight there's only that 0.1%, so a 10% chance pretty much of cloud cover, so not a lot in the way. And I can't agree more with Rob Smith there. Pro always do get the best conditions.
Of course they do. They always do. Always tailor-made.
Always have done, Kelly, haven't they? Always have done.
Always easy for those pros. We get the rubbish weather, us Pro-Am types, and they get the good stuff. All the top 6 went through again, Matt, so they're going to have to do it the next lap. They've got no choice. So we're going to have the top 6 are all going to have to come in this lap, so that'll be interesting. Tardock's just driven around the outside of Matt right there then, so he's chasing down his teammate Sylph for this championship. 17 points is the difference. Obviously that penalty could be looming over his head. O'Reilly, he's probably going to lose out to this part of the circuit. The NSX just not got the straight line speed of the Mustang, but you fancy I know the BOP kind of tells a picture, and the BOP's telling us that the BMW is the overpowered car for this circuit with how much it's been hampered with the weight. Yeah.
The Honda loses 3 kilograms, the Porsche loses 4. But yeah, I fancy them cars. Yes, you've got the start straight, yes, you've got the back straight, but the corners around here, I really fancy the Honda and Porsche to really negotiate well through them. I think that's why we're seeing good pace. Sylph now sets the fastest lap. Dan's managed to break away from Carlos, and Ben's still on the back of Carlos, but like Kelly said a moment ago, in fact, Overtake is now gaining on the back of Calseth. But like Kelly said a moment ago, they've got to pit this lap because they're lapping 154s, 155s. Well, there's 151 left on the pit window clock, and they're not even at the start line yet, so they have to all pit this time round. If one of these drivers misses this go an extra lap, that's at least 130-second time penalty. The game gives you standard.
Yeah, it's done, and I'm not expecting these 6 to be that stupid. So, although funnier things have happened.
So Sylph in, Dan in, Carlos in, Ben in, just waiting for Calseth and Overtaker, both in. Oh, huge pit cut from Overtaker there. That could be another one. That's 3, I think. That would be 3 this season that he's had. So that'll be one to take a look at. But at the minute, it's Kieran O'Reilly, as I'm trying to find the right camera. Kieran O'Reilly, the man who is on a mission at the moment. He's the one who's closest to Hoopert and the one who's closest for a position in this race. Although Cloudon's gaining on Hoffa, I'm keeping an eye on every driver, although a couple of them look like they're moving. So may have only, it's 977, so a few of them may have only just stopped in their pit box, as here comes Will Friedman. So that's how good Will Friedman's pace is tonight.
Absolutely, and I don't think any of these will take tyres, but
not in race one, no.
There go, Friedman's through, Skunky's through,
Carlos
through.
Is the first one to complete his pit stop, then Sylph, then Ben Rook, then Dan Davis. Sylph is off the limiter, Dan's off the limiter, Carlos off the limiter, Ben off the limiter. And here they go, look, here's O'Reilly, who's going to come round. Ben Hoopert's on the outside of Dan Davis, coming in towards the first corner, all through nice and cleanly. O'Reilly got past Carlos, and there we go, look, Hoopert and Dan now going at it side by side through turn 2. This is going to open O'Reilly's eyes to maybe get up the inside of Dan Davis, but Dan's going to have the inside line into turn 4. Ben Hoopert covers that one off, so Hoopert got past Dan. O'Reilly a little wide and a little wiggly there, and nearly into the back of Dan Davis as he rejoined. And before you say it, there was no grass out there for him to cut.
No, you're right, but he was nearly in Sweden. He was a little off track. He went very wide out there, and as you say, there was no grass there. It was all on tarmac, and apart from it probably flashing up, there'll be no harm done. But O'Reilly on the warm tyres. Dan got to get his tyres up to temperature, up to pressure. But look at this crowd now. I'm on board with Ben at the moment with a watching brief. Carlos, O'Reilly, Dan, and whoever's in front of that, all in very close company as we go through the Schumacher S's once again.
Dan just clipped a bit of gravel there as we jumped on board O'Reilly. O'Reilly now gets the run to the outside and breaks a little earlier than Dan, gives Dan the corner there. But Dan just touched it. I don't think he'd made a mistake. I just think he dropped a little bit of his wheel on the inside. Very easily done at the Schumacher S's. That gravel is very close on the right hand bend.
And I was watching these pros in practice and chatting with a couple of them, and I've run loads of laps around this track, but the amount of curb they take up those S's is absolutely ridiculous. I don't touch the curbs as much as that, and that's maybe why I'm not a pro driver, but the amount of curb is crazy, and it's fine lines between the edge of the track and the gravel. And as we saw to Mike earlier, you put a wheel in the gravel, you could be 3 places down.
Game over. Gary Leach, by the way, after whatever damage he had, is 12 seconds off the back of Clouden, who can't get past Tobias Hoffa at the moment. We're not watching that battle because we're watching this epic fight. Hoopert's now started to pull away from Dan because Dan's got to defend now from O'Reilly, the Honda, putting the Porsche under some immense pressure. But it's Friedman 5 seconds clear of Skunky, who's dropped out of Patrick Ledger. Tardox P4 5 seconds behind Ledger. He's got a second over Sylph. Then it's Matt Wright, Hoopert, Dan Davis, O'Reilly, Carlos, Ben, Mike Matthews, Calseth, Overtaker, Hoffa, Cloud and Gary Leach. Ignore McGowan for this race. He's just got in due to the fact that he was going to miss race 1 anyway. Good evening to Peaceful Stepdad in the chat. And O'Reilly really putting Dan under some pressure. He's pretty much kissing that Porsche.
He gave him a little touch in turn 1 as they went round, just a little kind of, hi Dan, I'm here, just in case he didn't know. He's right close, and let's hope it all doesn't end up in tears.
Let's see then, Carlos behind with Ben Rook and Mike Matthews. So that just goes to show as well, by the way, the top 7, how good a job they've done. But Dan, let's not forget, Dan had come from by the back of the pack before the pit stops. He's P8, so he's gained, I'd say, about 5 places maybe in that pit stop by doing the overcut.
Yeah, and as you said, he's got good pace, and it might be a pointsy race, but not a podium race. Well, that's for sure, and he's not going to catch that up in 2 minutes.
No.
You know, but a pointsy race indeed.
Well, Will Friedman crosses the line. I'm not sure whether or not we've started the final lap or not. We didn't get any confirmation from race control, so let's wait and see what will happen. Will's probably got a bit of time if he can, that he might let off the throttle a little bit just to cross the line. He might want to then go, do you know what, I want to do one more. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. Let's go back and quickly check on Hoffa and Jamal Clouden. There's Hoffa, there's Clouden, not really close to each other, not really putting each other under pressure, as Dan once again defends that inside line from O'Reilly. And if we go to the helicopter camera look, on Matt Wright, there's Wright, Hooper, Dan, O'Reilly, and if the camera, when the helicopter pans round or as they come into a braking zone, there then is Carlos. Ben Rook will be just behind him, and Dan very close to the back of Hooper there.
Yeah, Hooper's struggling a little bit, I think. Mind you, they were very close then to touching as Hooper got a little bit out of shape on the exit of that turn. They are very, very close as they go side by side downhill on the left-hander. And O'Reilly keeping a watching brief on this. It could be handbags here in a minute.
It could be handbags here at the moment, but so far so good. Good clean race in this, and hard racing from the 3 of them as well. And it's been a good fight this into the Dunlop hairpin. There you go. O'Reilly just kind of takes a little bit of deeper entry into that corner than what Dan did there to be able to turn that car in. And look at the momentum O'Reilly got out the corner. Has a look up the inside into the Schumacher S's. Not a lot here, but Dan got his line through the first part of the S's wrong look, and that's allowed Hooper to just get away, and O'Reilly's still on the back of him. Out the hairpin up the Schumacher S's. Very hard place to overtake.
Absolutely, almost impossible. But as you said, the drivers in front, fine margins. So if you make a mistake, if the driver in front of you makes a mistake, as Dan dips another wheel onto the gravel just on the exit of the right-hander as they come down the hill, you start to gain then. And if someone makes a mistake, then there is opportunity.
We've missed the finish of the race. Will Friedman has crossed the line at the end. It was the last lap. We didn't get any confirmation. Skunky second, Ledger third, then Tordock fourth with fastest lap. Then it'll be Sylph. In this one, Matt Wright is going to hang on there for a P6. Good for result for him. Then it's Ben Hoopert from Dan Davis, who does hold on from O'Reilly. Then it's Carlos, Ben Rook, Mike Matthews P12, Calseth P13 with overtaker 14th. And Jamal Clouden and the Bentley have come together. Clouden is station or rolling. I would hazard to guess that may be Jamal's fault, because if it wasn't, I don't think he'd have given the Bentley the position back, but Jamal has given Tobias Hoffa the position back, and Gary Leach nearly got the pair of them. And apologies to Will that we missed the race win. The race control never told us. Well, race control never told us it was the final lap. We was too busy watching the action instead of the timer, wasn't we? But
I'm sure that David Croft doesn't have these problems. I'm sure someone's telling him when the last race, and he doesn't control the cameras as well, to be fair. So,
he doesn't control the cameras.
No, he doesn't.
Exactly.
No,
and
so
his producer's probably in his ear telling him what's to come.
Exactly. So we don't have that. So
no.
Apologies.
And
talking about apologies, my apologies to Clouden. I want him to do terrible in the next race, because I was backing him genuinely to have a good race, and that all went terribly. So commentator's curse is real. It's a real thing. And Jamal, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a message from Jamal. That's no lie. I am genuinely waiting for a message on Discord from him.
Probably with some expletives.
Yeah, I reckon so. Either way, that was race 1 done. Will Friedman, your race winner. We'll be back in a few moments' time with race 2.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Will Friedman, your race winner. We'll be back in a few moments' time with race 2. Dan's pretty much admitted fault in the Discord chat. Everyone, I am so sorry. I touched the grass. The car would not stop. I'm really sorry.
Right, okay, fair enough. I didn't see it. I was on with Tardock and watching.
I just saw Dan out of shape.
I saw him hit somebody, but I didn't see how it started. So just before we shoot off, what's happened to Sky Schundelmeyer and Daz?
Daz has pulled out because Mike put a ticket in on him the other week.
Oh,
and he's got the ump about it. And he's also left the Simplay Racing team, the Discord and everything. Tibbs moaning last week. He knows he didn't do race 2 last week. He's saying he's not quick enough in a straight line. He reckons it's the bop that's the problem when it's not the bop. Blah blah blah.
So tantrums because they're not quick
yeah,
enough.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
So Pro's gone from having 31 cars this year, bearing in mind that 3 of them haven't turned up and Joe only did the first race at Brands, to now having, to Dennis Newman pulling out, Ethan Coe pulling out, San pulling out, Unsworth got dropped, Beasley pulled out, Darren Yeo pulled out, and Chundlemeyer pulled out. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, with Pro becomes some big egos, and when those egos aren't fulfilled, and they, being outclassed, I thought Tibbs was having quite a good season. He was kind of having some good racing.
Yeah.
Daz is outclassed, but then I rate Daz in between Pro and Pro-Am, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. But the silly thing is, I never understood why this was a regular thing until I did Racing Unleashed iRacing stuff, and they was all like, oh yeah, numbers will drop off if they can't win the championship. It's like, that makes so much sense now to me as for why Simplay has the same thing.
It's an ego thing.
Oh, massively.
Do you know what I mean? They all think they're quick. And when they're not that quick, and again, like shit happens where you get spun round in turn 1 and all the rest of it, they can't go the distance, can they?
And this is where I suppose you got a nod to 1 GT4, nearly I think it was a 30-car grid this week. 2 Pro-Am, nearly a 30-car grid this week, because nobody's quit them. They've all carried on going and.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, again, there is some egos in there, but
massively. Their ones haven't quit or gave up. They're carrying on going to the end.
Some of them understand that they're in the right pond. Do you know what I mean? The likes of I'm sure John Gooday doesn't want to go up into Pro, because he's fucking at the back, but while he's in Pro-Am, he's the big fish, isn't he?
Yep.
Or one of them. Do you know what I mean? So
he'll be in for a shock next season because no choice.
He's going up.
Yeah, second in the championship. You can't keep him down. And if it's I can't race Thursdays.
Tough luck.
Unfucking. What do you want us to do about it? You're doing really well in Pro-Am this season. It's not fair to keep you in Pro-Am. So
move on.
Unlucky.
Yeah,
unlucky.
absolutely.
But with Pro, it's just ridiculous. With 13 last week, all right, bit of a better grid this week. People have come back, not as busy anymore. But at the same time, then you look at it and you think, well, Daz has pulled out over what? Fuck all. Sky's pulled out over what? Because he's not quick enough. Well, I'm sorry. Tordoc's quicker than you. Sylph's quicker than you. Friedman's quicker than you. Carlos is quicker than you. Hoopert's quicker than you. So that's 5 places you've automatically lost. The same as Mike. Mike's automatically lost 5 places because them drivers are quicker than Mike, unless Mike's having a really good day.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see Hulkenberg having a fucking saying, I ain't racing anymore.
Yeah.
Because he knows where he is. And you've got to go with it. Do you know what I mean? But it's. I mean, as I said, Daz is just fucking strange guy anyway. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's the only one that's ever fucking smashed into me as a fucking tantrum. Do you know what I mean? At the end of a race. So he hasn't got the mentality for Pro.
Last season he was really good. He sort of knew that he was not going to get top 5.
Yeah.
But on his day, maybe a bit of luck, maybe in the top 10, maybe a 6th place, maybe even try and sneak in the top 5 on his day. And his mentality was brilliant. This year it's like so many lap 1 incidents, and I'm sorry, when you have lap 1 incidents with different drivers all the time, you have to look at yourself. You just do. How many times can you have incidents with different drivers? If you and the same guy are having the same incidents week in, week out, you look at each other and think, right, it's both of us. If the same guy's constantly in the same incident week in, week out with multiple drivers, we'll take that guy out of the equation. Them guys aren't having the same incidents, are they?
No, this is it. And I mean, we rant and rave about tickets, and I mean, I put no fight up about the tickets that went in for me last week, but obviously I learned that Imola, people are taking a different braking in a different spot and taking that tight line, and I take a wider line round the hairpin. Do you know what I mean? So two incidents for exactly the same thing. you know, I take away from that, then I've got to sharpen that
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And that's exactly how it's supposed to work, isn't it? I mean,
Exactly.
you know, as I said, I didn't fight the point, and I don't care if I get a penalty or not. It still worked, you know.
Yeah.
And that's yeah.
But at the end of the day, as well, this is where people's got to fucking understand that that's what the ticket system's there for. You know.
Yeah.
And,
this is it.
And if Daz has been pulled into tickets because of for whatever reason, same incident, you know, week in, week out.
Yeah.
Then sort it out, Daz. You know.
The problem is some people just don't ever get it, do they? You know, they just don't ever get it, and you know.
Ego, though, innit? It's that ego of I'm not wrong, every other fucker must be.
Yeah, and as I said, they just time in, time out.
Yeah.
And I know, I tell you, there's another one between you and me is Mike. He doesn't get it. He's quick enough.
Yeah.
But he's always in an incident.
He seems
he's
this
always
season
making mistakes.
He seems to have had 2 good seasons or 3 good seasons where he's been up there with Dan when Dan was teaming with him, and good for Mike. You know, fair play to him.
Yeah, totally.
But again, the names I've just rolled off of Tardock and everybody and Friedman,
yeah,
they're quicker than Mike.
Yes.
So that's 5 places, Mike. You've lost.
And he tries too hard then, and then wonders
he tries
why.
too hard, wonders why he's in mistakes, but also his mentality of, well, I should still be in the top 5. No, because there's 5 guys faster than you that's now joined.
Yeah.
So that puts you top 10.
You have to have that mentality, and then luck come your way.
Yeah.
If you don't make mistakes, then you're going to be closer when the others do, you know?
Exactly.
And Christ, I learned that in Project Cars, you know? It was all about staying consistent.
Yeah.
Don't drive out of your comfort zone, you know?
You knew them 2 seasons you had in Pro. If you pushed to try and keep up with the pack, you'd be fucked because you'd make so many mistakes. What you was good at was driving to your strengths, and if you had a car behind you, you was good at keeping that car behind you because that was your strength.
Absolutely.
You know, especially in that process. We've got 2.5 minutes. I'm going to run to the toilet very quickly.
Yeah, I need a drink.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm back.
Broadcast. Comms and quality. Oh, back just in time, look. Back just in time. I've got a debate to have with you in quali, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
You'll like it.
Go on.
It's not even motorsport. I'll tell you, quali's about to start, so I'll tell you in a minute. It's not even motorsport related, dude.
Excellent. Yeah,
But I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll get a good kick out of it.
Right. Okay.
Mike's already put 2 tickets in.
Who has?
Mike.
Against who?
Hooper and Overtaker in the same one, and then Hoffer in another.
Right.
And Clouden put one in on the new guy.
Right. No one put one in on Dan? Not yet.
Not yet.
Apology goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yes, but, and I'll say this now, that annoys me.
What does?
Apologising to not have a ticket. I fully get that apology, and I fully accept people's apologies.
Yeah.
Don't take a bad offence to it. I'm still going to put a ticket in on you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, if that could be your first strike. So if that's your first strike, and you do it again the week after, sorry, if I go, oh, I accept the apology, whatever, blah, 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 and then you do it again to me the week after, that's then your first strike.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I accept the apology. I'm not being a cunt, but I still want it looked at, please. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's being sorry, and then you've still got to pay the consequences.
Yeah,
you know?
and I know Dan will. I know there is people out there that apologise to try and not get a ticket put in.
Yeah.
Right, we will go back live in 5, 4. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to Simplay Motorsport for the first qualifying of the second race of the evening. Round 16 will be the evening. Me and Kelly having a good long chat off air that we had to make Dan, big moment at the Dunlop hairpin as he's trying to get ready for qualifying. Me and Kelly was having that good longer, harder chat in the mid-session break that we nearly missed our usual toilet and refresh the beverages spell. Only we had 2.5 minutes. Both made it back in time, so that is fantastic. Now, during this break, I picked up a banana, right? And I want to have a discussion with you, Kelly.
Okay.
How do you know your partner says you're fat, go on a diet, without her telling you you're fat, go on a diet? Because the other day, we did a Tesco's whoosh order, which is like you can't, it's not a normal standard Tesco's delivery. It's just a quick one where you can get a few bits and bobs. She brought some kiwis and some bananas. We already had oranges and apples in for the kids. And I said, God, how much fruit do we want? She said, I thought you were instead of you snacking and eating some chocolate and crisps, I bought you some bananas and kiwis. I said, okay.
Right, okay.
The next day, the proper Tesco shop came, and there was more kiwis and bananas and grapes and 2 bottles of Diet Pepsi. So how do you know that your partner's trying to tell you you're fat, go on a diet, without her actually saying it, Kelly?
Okay, so this is the same effect as you get deodorant at Christmas because you smell. That one? Is
yes.
Okay, so I mean, first things first, she might just be doing it for your health more than just a cosmetic thing. She might be just thinking we need to just be more healthy and more fruit and your 5 a day. It will also make you taste sweeter, when she gives you a nice kiss, right? Apparently, so that could be a thing. I mean, I don't know. Have you said to her, "Does my bum look big in this?" Has that been the conversation?
Yeah, and the reply was, "Your bum looks big in everything." It was like, all right, cheers, thank you.
Well, that's also, saying get on a diet, fatty. So well.
Yeah, exactly. Ian Best say that wait till she buys you clothes that are smaller. There's the next one.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, as it happens, I happen to be on a diet. I've started a keto diet. Do you know what that is?
Not a clue.
So no carbs, or very little carbs. Yeah. So no bread, no chips, no rice, none of that. So
fair enough.
Yeah, carb-free diet, and I've lost half a stone already in a couple of weeks. So
good lad. Nice.
Yeah.
Put it this way.
Absolutely.
Put it this way, though, dude. There's that many kiwis on the fridge, in the fruit bowl. I'll be a New Zealander by the time I finished all them. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's good for you, and as I said, otherwise, I mean, I've got to get on a diet because I'm not going to get my bikini on to be beach body ready. So
where are you going?
Down the road.
Down the road. Yeah.
Funnily enough, no. New Zealand at Christmas.
Yeah, there we go.
Kiwi again.
Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, Kelly. For those who don't know, Kelly is his lovely partner Hayley. Is from New Zealand.
Kiwi. Yeah.
So yeah, which can probably
So
roll us
she's
on.
really upset, which would bring
Yeah.
us lovely onto Liam
Well,
Lawson, wouldn't it?
Let's just quickly say that O'Reilly's
Yeah.
currently provisional pole from Dan Davis, Ben Rook, Silf, Hooper, Kalseth, Hoffer, and then Ledger. But yes, the big news this week, bar the fact that the Honda wasn't the slowest in the British GT Media Day, the big news of Liam Lawson, 2 races. Is that enough?
Yeah, we had this again. We had a long discussion about this. And are you reading the chat? I'm reading the chat.
He's on a seafood diet, and I hope that the second part to that is seafood and eat
Seafood, you eat it,
Rob
yeah,
Smith,
of course it is.
because if it's not, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, we're all here all week. Yeah, it's yeah, that absolutely is that. Yeah, I read that and giggled to myself. Ian Best saying I lost 3 stone on the Kato. Keep going. Yeah, absolutely. It seems to be working. Marriage 101 according to Rob Smith as well, like, you know, read the signs.
Yeah, well, it's
understand your woman.
Marriage 101. Go
You know?
shopping yourself, then you can get your own snacks.
Exactly. Or just sneaky secret eating. You know, secret eating. Just nip off. Anyway, Liam Lawson, yes, indeed. 2 races enough. Is it enough? Actually, I mean, we've had all these discussions. I mean, it's the kiss of death, this second Red Bull seat, isn't it? And we know that, as Dan goes very wide and messes up the chicane, and makes a right dog's dinner of that, to be fair. We know that Red Bull seat is a kiss of death. We understand from sources that the car is incredibly hard to drive. It's very much on the nose. Is this actually a good thing for Liam? We're going to find out next Sunday, you know.
I think it's a good thing for Liam, but at the same time, you then have to kind of look at him and say, well, where does he go that he's going to get as good a chance to win a race?
Well, I think that his career is in jeopardy, you know, from this, and the media's all over it, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? And it's a poor start for sure, you know. I mean, his career's in jeopardy in this. I would like to see him get in the Racing Bull, and being in front of Tsunoda. Not that I've got anything against Yuki. I think I would like him to see him do well in it, but I think it's just this car, you know.
Now, well, that brings me on to my second sort of question. What can Yuki get out of it that Liam, Sergio Perez, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly haven't? Because I suppose at the end of the day, that's the big question you've got to ask yourself. That's 4 drivers in the space of 5 years, let's say, that haven't got anything out of this second seat. Since Daniel Ricciardo left, everybody's failed.
Well, it's about the car setup, isn't it? That's what we understand.
Yeah.
Now, if Yuki likes his car on the nose like Max does, then he might be, might get on all right with him. If Yuki's style, I mean, I don't know what Yuki's style is. Kind of like scream and shout and be really aggressive. But I don't know what his style is. Do you know what I mean? But Max having it set up to be right on the nose, and Alex Albon said it. You take a bite at the corner, it dives to the corner, and then you take a second bite at it. And anybody who knows, anybody who's done any racing, you know, who understands racing, you don't have to be particularly good at it, but understands how it works. If you've got a pointy car and you turn in for the apex, and the car dives towards the apex, you then take another stab at it. All this is costing you time. Now, if Yuki likes it on the nose, then we're in business. But I mean, surely Max isn't the only person who drives like Max. I know he's a bit of a, you know, freak of nature and a law unto himself, but I don't know. I think it's going to be blind luck. It really is, you know.
A third part to this question, Kelly, is how bad is this on Red Bull to only have one game plan and one car strategy and one car setup, and why haven't you got a secondary setup for the secondary car, for the secondary driver? Because you look, when they've won the constructors in recent years, they've had the most dominant car, right?
Yes.
They've had the best car on the grid, the best package. McLaren stopped that last year. McLaren took that away from them, and they're going to do it this year. And I think Red Bull are potentially 4th best on the grid without this second driver, right? So with that being the case, why don't they mould a car to the second driver for that constructors' points? We said off air, didn't we? They've lost their key asset in Adrian Newey. He's gone Aston Martin. So that is gone. So surely they will want more wind tunnel time to help the new designer make a good car, especially with such rule changes coming next year.
Absolutely. I mean, the other element that we haven't said about, apparently, I mean, I heard rumour that Max Verstappen came back to the factory this week to try and help Liam Lawson, and he wants him to do well and tried to help him to try and dial this car into his driving style a little bit, which I thought was, I know you're not the biggest Max Verstappen fan in the world, but I thought that was, noble of him. But then again, he wants to win this constructors as much as he does the drivers, or, well, probably not as much, but
he's got to drive.
Wants to win them all.
He's got to drive the thing next year. So the more wind tunnel time they get, the more money that can be spent on that car, whatever it may be, is all going to affect the way Max is going to drive next year, isn't it? So he wants the best package.
Teammate. Yeah, absolutely, and he said that he said he flew back to help Liam, but they changed it anyway. The other thing that I heard, which I was saying off air, is that Yuki sponsors, we're thinking possibly Honda, have put another £10 million into Red Bull if Yuki got in the seat for Japan, being the next race. Yeah. So is there a money factor in this as well, Matt?
Possibly so. I mean, well, the way I look at it, right, is also who's made this decision? Because I said to Dan off air earlier, I don't think this is a lot on Christian Horner. I think this is Helmut Marko.
Well, Helmut and
we've already seen what he's done this season. He's already slated Hadjar after Melbourne. And bearing in mind, the guy's only driven an F1 car at Bahrain in the cold temperatures, but in the dry, never driven in the wet. So it was, a new thing for him. And Helmut Marko made the comments about Hadjar after Melbourne. Yeah. He's been strong in his opinions of Albon and Gasly and Perez in the past. Do you think this is a Helmut Marko decision? Do you think Christian had much to do with it?
I think so. I believe it was a decision of three key players of Helmut and of the top guy who the owner of Red Bull now.
I can't think of his name, but I know who you mean.
Yeah, Dietrich's son, is it? I don't know. But I believe there's three involved in that decision making, and I think Helmut, unfortunately, he's obviously an intelligent guy and he's, obviously well respected, but I think he's got this no nonsense attitude, a bit like Niki Lauda had, but Niki Lauda seemed to carry it off an awful lot better than Helmut does. Helmut just seems to be criticising all the time and making more friction than he does solutions. So, I think he had a strong hand in it, but, Christ, give these kids a chance, innit,
4 drivers in about 5 or 6 years, possibly something like that. I can't remember how long Perez was in the car. It's not a lot of time. And what if Yuki doesn't work? Do you turn to Hadjar? What do you do then? Do you go back and call Sergio? Do you go back and call Danny Rick? What do you do if Yuki doesn't work out? Do you only also give Yuki 2 races?
Well, this is a good question, and watch this space, really, isn't it? And how this pans out. But it's all seeming very desperate by Red Bull. I mean, the way they're going, they'll be putting Damon Hill back in the car in a minute. Do you know what I mean? So
let's be brutally honest. If you're Liam Lawson and Yuki does a little worse than what you've just done in your 2 races, and he gets a third race, you'll be a bit annoyed.
Well, will you? Do you know what I mean? Well, as I said, now he's had the kiss of death. I mean, is he in a better position now in a racing bull?
Yeah, possibly so. Either way, let us know what you think in the comments. We'll see what you guys think and everything. Obviously, the news broke today about a returning driver to the British Touring Cars. If you're a follower of the British Touring Cars, we go from the 7-time world champion in the Formula 1 to his brother, Nicholas Hamilton, back in the British Touring Cars, in the Cupra, with Unlimited Motorsport, who I believe...
Rubbish car.
It's all right. Dan's on the grass again.
I'm only a fan, aren't I? Because I own one, but it's not a great touring car.
We believe that they've got the licence from PowerMax. Obviously, the Vauxhall Astras, who struggled for finances this year, got a sponsor. Believe they're only running the one car. The second licence has gone to Unlimited Motorsport, who have brought Nick Hamilton in. Great to see him what he does with his disability, cerebral palsy, I believe it is, and fantastic work on what we see, and a lovely guy in the paddock. And if you've never, obviously, if you're abroad and not in the UK, and you've never had the chance to go to a British touring car event, the paddock is open to everybody. You get to mingle with the drivers. It is fantastic. And Nick Hamilton, one of the nicest drivers you will ever meet.
I haven't had the opportunity to meet him, to be honest.
Pleasure.
And,
It's a pleasure.
And I've met a lot of the touring car drivers, and that's another thing. And I mean, I took Hayley to the British Grand Prix a couple of years ago, and the Grand Prix is so closed off compared to touring car. She went to touring car in the same year, experienced both in the 1 year, but did the Grand Prix first. And I said to her, touring car is a very different thing. You know, you walk around the paddock, and you walk around the paddock and around the edge of the track, and you bump into drivers. You know what I mean? You bump into Tom Ingram just walking in the other direction, you know, and stuff like that. And I had a long chat with Jake Hill at
Thruxton.
Thruxton. You know, early on the Friday. You know, he was just in the pit lane. You have access to walk around the track.
We did a track walk the first year we met. We did a track walk. And there was Tom Ingram and I think Josh Cook, Ashton Turkington. They was posing for some season finale photo. We bumped in and maybe discussed pasties with Tom Ingram.
I think you discussed pasties, and he kind of smiled and looked at us both.
What I mean though is, you know, that's the kind of access you get.
Yes, you can.
And it was just fantastic. So Nick Hamilton back on the grid. Thoughts?
Brilliant. Absolutely, it's great. I mean, and touring car is so much better than Formula One. I mean, we follow Formula One because we follow Formula One, but touring car accessibility. Price. I mean, you'll go to a touring car event for you know, your tickets are like, what are they, 40 quid, something like that?
It's 40 quid for a weekend. Now, bearing in mind,
for a weekend,
if you get there on the Friday, like I tend to do, you get access to the track for free, which means you can sort of, if the track's not live, you can walk around it, but you know, you can see all the support races and the touring cars in the paddock setting up and getting ready, which is fantastic. That's just a different level that you don't get to see much. We've done track walks in the night, you know, and it's just fantastic. It's just brilliant. I've cycled it. Yeah, I've cycled
Thruxton. I've cycled Thruxton on a BMX. My hot lap was 10 minutes.
It's absolutely brilliant, and it's a feeling like no other. Rob Ramsell's just put in the chat that he's going to he's got a season pass to Donington. He's at he gets to see Colin Turkington this weekend in a Ginetta at Donington Park. That is in the GT Cup, so it's not the British GT. It's a sports car racing series based in the UK. Was founded by Mark Haynes in 2007. The championship is supported. The championship supported the short-lived British LMP3 Cup in 2017. Following the series at Spa, blah 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 blah. It went on to support GT World Challenge, which is obviously the European one at Brands Hatch. So it's basically sort of like the older GT cars that are still racing. That's not maybe as expensive to go and race in the British GT, which is great. You know, Colin Turkington obviously not in the touring cars this year, but he's still got his hand in the racing by being on the grid in a Ginetta.
It's going to be very strange, Turkington not in the touring car championship. He's been there for so long.
I said to Dan a few weeks back, Kelly, before Shedden had signed, right? So this is pre-Shedden. I said if Robert Huff doesn't sign, then the oldest driver on the grid will be something like Tom Ingram, and he was 2015. That's kind of like mine and Dan. You know, your childhood, you know, your early drivers when you was younger, all sort of retired 90s, 2000s, whatever. Mine and Dan's are now going that way. Rob Huff's now not on the grid at the moment. We've still got Tom Chilton and Shedden, thankfully, that mean that we've got two drivers left from our childhood when we'd have grown up on that grid. It's just a weird era to be around, because now Tom Ingram started in 2015. My son's a huge Tom Ingram fan, born in 2015. He's got that knowledge now of all these drivers are going to be on the grid starting their careers in the touring cars in his childhood. So he's got at least 20 years before they start to come off the grid.
You've got to love it, haven't you? You've got to love it. I mean, it was John Cleland was my first hero of touring cars. You know, that was back mid-90s, you know. So, when I first started following touring car. But touring car goes back even further than that. It goes a long way back to the 50s, I believe. I think touring car does.
Yeah, I believe it does, yeah.
As much as Formula One. Hey, but Matt, in other news... we're about to start a race, you know.
We are about to start a race, and qualifying, I don't think brought up too many excitements. Maybe Dan, the shock of qualifying being higher.
Yeah, Dan Clouden in the top four. I'm not going to speak about him this race. I'm going to leave him alone. but Dan behind his teammate Ben Rook in 7th, Carlos in there as well in 6th place in that Mustang. So Mustang 1, 2, 3 again.
No.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah, the split by the lawnmower, and
come on now.
Yeah, O'Reilly doing a cracking job in that Honda to put that second. But yeah, Mustang MSA Racing 1 and 3 at the moment. It's going to be an interesting race, Matt.
Yeah, Hooper down in 13th place, not the strongest of starts from him. Championship standings then, after the first race. We've got a bit of red on the tables now, Kelly, which means drivers and some teams and one team cannot win the championship. So Silf leads the way, 11 points clear of Tardock. Remember though, Tardock may have that penalty looming over him after race 1. Hoopert is 3rd. Ben Rook still in P4. He's only 4 points ahead of O'Reilly. Dan's then a further 12 behind Ben, so very tight there. Overtaker's 9 behind Dan. So very, very tight between them 4 drivers for that 4th place at the moment. Then it's Matt Wright, Jamal Clouden, Michael Harris. Will Friedman moves up to 11th ahead of Mike Matthews. Then it's Skunky in 13th. Great to see Skunky back up there. Patrick Ledger. And then it's Viper, Hoffer, Carlos Leach, McGowan, O'Brien, and Calseth can't win the championship. No surprise, he's only just joined tonight. Joe Bates can't, neither can Richie Michelle, Colin, Pocket, Skenny. And in the Teams Championship, 307 points is the difference. MSA 2 team, Audio Sport 90 points exactly clear of Greasy Bandits. Simplay Racing gained a little bit over the Greasy Bandits team there. Old School Racers P5. Quantum Motorsport 6, Team SPR, Effects Motorsport, and then Red Run Racing, who cannot now win the team's championship. In terms of manufacturers, which is just a little bit for me for stats, McLaren 64 points clear of Porsche. They're well clear of Ferrari, Ford, Mercedes, BMW, Aston Martin. All them manufacturers can still win it. Then it's Ginetta, Chevrolet, Alpine, Lamborghini, Bentley, Nissan, Honda, Lexus, Audi.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeedy. So they're on the formation lap, ready for this 1-hour race. As normal, there's mandatory pit stop where they have to take fuel, but they don't have to take tyres if they don't want to. Do you think they're going to tonight? It's quite warm on track now, isn't it?
24 degrees track temp, and it's only going to get warmer as we head into 2 o'clock. I'd be taking tyres.
You're on your tyres, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, I'd be taking them. You know, Imola last week. Very cold. I don't think you needed to. Here I'd be taking them. Just reading the chat. Evening to Gary Clawball.
Stop having handbags, you two.
Yeah, just little handbags. Right, let's get rid of that, and let's then put up another poll.
Yep, and just in other news, Matt, just very, very quickly, my subscribers has gone up in the Audio Sport YouTube channel. It's gone up from 84 to, wait for it, 86.
Ooh.
And thanks to Rob Smith, because I know he's one of them. Thanks, Rob. It only
there we
took
go,
about,
then.
What are we, 6 weeks or so to
so this is week 8. This is week 8.
Week 8. Is it really? Wow.
There we go then. And while we're there, then let's just briefly mention that we can you can check out our sponsors: Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing, and much more, including Simplay Motorsport merchandise. Links in the description. And Audio Sport, manufacturers of EW Transporter, T4 audio solutions, and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Links are all in the description. As we all green and go, Hooper's got a drive-through penalty, and it is all handbags at the front, because look at O'Reilly. He's already taken the lead of this race from both the Mustangs. Clouden's on the outside with Friedman. Dan's looking up the inside of Carlos in that mid-pack at the moment, but O'Reilly, not sure what happened to the 2 Mustangs. It was all 4 sort of really squeezed in, and O'Reilly's managed to come out on top at the moment. But Will Friedman now side by side with Dan after he got past Carlos. Ben's out wide. Ben's had a big wiggle and a big moment. That's going to allow a couple of cars underneath, but Dan now side by side with Will Friedman at the start as the front 3. In fact, Jack Clouden there, he took one of the MSA cars as well.
Absolutely, all action going on here, but nice and clean this time. I didn't see any bumping and grinding, as it were. I'm on board with Overtaker with a watching brief on these guys. So cracking start from O'Reilly, and he's starting to stretch his legs already.
He is starting to stretch his legs already, and it was Tardock who went from 1st to 4th in the opening stage of this race. Good evening to Benny in the chat. Who's joining us obviously from Australia, but it's O'Reilly from Silf, from Clouden, then it's Tardock, Will Friedman, Dan Davis, Carlos from Overtaker with McGowan, Mike Matthews, Ben Rook down the order from Skunky, Ledger, Hoffer, Gary Leach, who's already got past Matt Wright and then Kaltef, and he's also got past Hoffer now, but Hoffer's having a look at Gary Leach through the Schumacher S's. They go side by side just into the next corner. Hoffer's going to try and hold it around the outside to have the inside line for the next part, but Gary Leach, has he got it done? Not just yet, you know that. Bentley's keeping Gary honest, and Gary now stays ahead.
Yeah, it's all stalemate at the front. O'Reilly, as we come round to the chicane for the first
Jamal's
time.
made a mistake. Sorry, Kelly. He went very wide at the opening part of the chicane, and he went onto the grass, in the gravel a little bit. That's allowed Tordok through, and it's now put Will Friedman side by side with Jamal at the moment as they come down the start-finish straight. I don't know if that was Tordok just maybe showing Clouden the nose, and Clouden fell for it, but Clouden definitely made his own mistake there.
Yeah, not my fault. Nothing to do with me at all.
Ian Best just put in the chat, did Hooper just quit because of his drive-through? I think he may have done, because he's no longer on the timing tree.
Well, that would be a penalty, will it not?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so probably been better to take the penalty tonight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because if that's his third
well,
retirement, then that could be a minus 25 points in your championship.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, I need some audio sports stickers and sponsorships for my new wheelchair exchange from my subscription. I didn't say I was paying for subscription. Steady on, Rob, innit? If you're passing past the workshop, pop in, I'll give you a free sticker. That's easy enough.
I've got
and that's open to
sticker.
everybody. Luckily, most people aren't close to us, but I know Rob's only about 10 miles away from me. So, yeah, pop in, I'll give you a sticker. That's not a problem.
Here's Kieran O'Reilly then, fastest lap of the race. Obviously we've only done the one lap, still within 8 attempts, still Tordok third from Clouden, from Friedman, from Dan, from Carlos, then it's Overtaker, McGowan, Mike Matthews. Oh, did he just put a wheel on the gravel there? Ben's not close enough. If he didn't, I think Ben dropped a wheel on the outside of the Schumacher Cressa. So as we were, even Stevens, Matt Wright's past Tobias Hoffer, and he's now got Kaltef on the back of him.
All still in very close company at the moment, aren't they? Apart from the front two, no one's really kind of broken away. They're all kind of lining up behind Tordok, really, aren't they?
Yeah, doesn't seem to have that overall pace at the moment. Jamal's just dropping off the back of Tordok a little. He didn't get the chicane right again there, did Tordok, and Friedman not as close this time, and not as big a mistake for Tordok from Clouden, for Friedman to capitalise. Dan has just fell into the clutches of Carlos a little bit this lap. I'm just going to watch Will Friedman right in the slipstream of the McLaren at the moment, though, coming down the start-finish straight. Here he comes, pulls to the outside. Jamal just goes a little bit defensive. Dan also not taking the natural line, just covering that inside a little bit from Dan, not as much as Clouden did. And Friedman stays as we are, but Dan's dropped off the back of Friedman and into the clutches of Carlos.
Yeah, I think it's ebbing and flowing, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? Dan has just pulled up to the back of Friedman again and pulled a bit from Carlos. So, sector to sector, it's, as I said, ebbing and flowing for a minute.
It is just for the time being at the moment, and this is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on then through this opening stage of the race to see what's happening. Silf just brought that gap down to O'Reilly a little bit. The Honda, I think this is the best the Honda's looked, because when it's looked really good, it still looked a little snappy and twitchy at times. I think the Honda tonight, look, he's opened that gap up half a second in sector 1. So this is the best that O'Reilly, I think, has looked here. This is the closest fight on track at the moment. It's between Friedman and Cloud until the timing screen updates and it proves me wrong. No, it's proved me right. Gary becoming a bit of a train again with Matt Wright, Hoffer and Kalseth behind him. But it is this Friedman-Clouden fight that is one worth keeping our eyes on at the moment. It's Clouden just making the odd little mistake here or there. 5 minutes gone in or just under 5 minutes gone in this race. It's going to be an interesting one to see what happens throughout the rest of it. But so far, O'Reilly doing a cracking job, and Tordok now putting a second between himself and Clouden.
Yeah, O'Reilly, I'm just on board with O'Reilly, and he seems to have it well under control, hitting all the apexes nice and easily, smooth and consistent through the corners, and driving nicely. So looks like he's got the car really underneath him at the moment, which is that puts him in front, and he Stilth is not exactly knocking on his door right now, is he? So Tordok with the quickest lap at the moment. Yeah,
it's, we'll see what Tordok can do. Silv's just got the gap back under a second. Overtaker looking to put Carlos under a bit of pressure here. Just behind Dan, as Dan just not able to stick with Friedman and Cloudman at the moment. He's thereabouts, I'd say. He's got Carlos closer to him than what he is to Friedman. But Carlos now maybe going to allow Dan to just escape a little bit as he comes under pressure from overtaker at this stage of the race. Then Matt Wright has dropped down to last by a long margin, 8 seconds, so I'm not sure what's happened there, but Kalsef has got past Hoffer as well. Leach braking in the chicane mid-corner, takes right out, says Ian Best.
Oh dear,
so,
that must be what happened there.
That must be what happened there, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gary's not happy in that Lexus though, is he? We know Gary's he's a pretty clean, fair driver, but he's well off it in that Lexus.
I've had some great battles with Gary, and which makes me sound a better driver than I am. Because, but when you drive with Gary, you do. When you race with Gary, you do know that he will be 100% fair. It's unlike him to.
Normally, if there's a mistake with Gary, he will hold his hands up and be like, "Yeah, dude, my fault."
Yeah, absolutely. You usually get a very clean, fair race with Gary, and very much so. He's a better driver than he's showing at the moment. As you say, I don't think he's making that Lexus work very well.
Two-time champion back on Project Corsa 2, the very first champion of Simplay Motorsport, in the pro category, should I say. Obviously, Jamie Brazier was the first champion. He won it on the Pro-Am the night before. Either way, Carlos pulled away from overtaker a little bit, who's Dan's also gapped him. Now Taker had a little wiggle through the chicane there. He's all fine. Friedman's being dropped a little bit by Clouden now. This is allowing Dan just to creep onto the back. The gap was 6 tenths. It's now 5 tenths. So Dan's just got a little bit closer to Friedman this lap. Let's drop down to Skunky. I don't know if I think he's just been passed by Patrick Ledger. So Ledger's got the move done on Skunky. Skunky loses out on a place. P2 in race 1. Dan in 13th at the moment.
Yeah, I think... Dan's a bit closer this time through the Mickey Mouse Stadium section. A bit closer to Friedman this time. I just think, as I said, it's forward and backwards with the times. Really, Dan gets a bit closer to Friedman. He falls back a little bit to Carlos, and on we go at the moment. Although they're in very close company, no one's looking like they can put any moves on anybody right at the moment. Such is the quality of this field, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Gary's dropped to 3.5 behind Skunky at the moment. We're watching him fight with Kalsef, and then there's Tobias Hoffer looking up the inside. That Bentley, I've been impressed with Hoffer this season, I must admit. He's always been around that 14th place, but he's in an old Bentley that I think there's more to get out of the Bentley. I think you can run towards the front end. I don't know if you can win races, but I think you can run towards the front end in pro in the Bentley. But great to see. It's a personal favourite car of mine. As Friedman's right on the back of Clouden now.
Yes, I was in a race with Hoffer, a practice race on the practice server. It was just me and him in a race, and he just destroyed me in about 3 corners, and away he went, against my McLaren. But I think that might be more about the driver than the car.
Possibly so. Wright thinks it was Hoffer rear-ending him more than Gary, says Ian Best.
Okay.
While we're at it as well, there's a bit of nothing happening at the moment. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you are new. Subscribe to that channel. We are over the 900 mark now, and we'd love to get towards that 1,000 mark as close to it as possible before the end of this season. The goal is, I think, 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So the faster we can make that happen, the absolute better for the channel. As Friedman goes side by side with Jamal into turn 1.
He got a bit of a run on him, Matt.
Yeah.
Clouden put a wheel on the gravel on the exit at the last corner, which compromised his traction, and Freeman got a bit of a run, not a lot to be fair. The Porsche didn't really reel that McLaren in very quickly, so I think Jamal's is saving himself on power here a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, and I think we're seeing where the Porsche and Honda is a lot stronger. I kind of like this circuit for that, because you've got the straights where you can see the quicker cars in the straight line. There's not a lot of fast corners around here. The Porsche obviously better in the traction zones. I think that's what you get around this circuit. But all the Schumacher S's, it is all about how you exit the corner at Nürburgring, and that's what Will Freeman seems to be doing better at the moment. We're on board the rear wing of Jamal Clouden. Mark Tilley in the chat, what did I miss? What happened to Righty? Qualified down the order at an incident at the chicane. That is what's put him down there. Tobias Hoffer, yellow flag now. It's going to help Wright catch onto the back of Tobias Hoffer there then.
Yeah, I think you're right. The problem with being good in the traction zones is it doesn't give you an opportunity. It gives you an opportunity to catch the car in front. It doesn't give you an opportunity to overtake the car in front. A good car with good traction is really only great for defending. Do you know what I mean? But certainly around this track, there's not anywhere long enough to use that traction to your advantage. As I'm still on board with Friedman, as we're just coming through the chicane, as Clouden bounces through it, and so does Friedman, to be fair, as these guys take a lot of curb. And Clouden on the power, and that Porsche is right with him. You're not getting the yo-yo effect, but the McLaren just a little bit better in the straight line, I feel, and just gapping the Porsche a little bit. So Friedman isn't close enough when he gets into the braking zone to make a move.
And speaking of pulling away, they've also dropped Dan at this part of the last lap. Dan was right with Friedman and Clouden. He's dropped back to 7/10 behind. That's brought Carlos back into play with Dan a little bit here. So we'll keep our eyes on that.
I'll tell you who they are dropping. Overtaker a little bit.
Yeah, they have.
He's dropping back from these pair. Can't seem to stick with them unless he's, doing something we don't know. Maybe conserving his tyres or, something like that. But he's not looking racy on these two at the moment.
No, he's not.
Got good pace.
Not looking racy at all, and that is interesting to see, because normally Overtaker's right up there, but P8 at the moment, he's not even in the mix, is he? He's got no one behind him, no one there, he's kind of in no man's land. Dan's been dropped to a second now, and Dan's also dropped Carlos to 1.3, so Jamal and Friedman pulling away here from Dan, and Dan has no answer to stick with them at this moment in the race, but it is early doors. There obviously is the pit window to come. Anything can still happen. O'Reilly's nearly got a 2-second lead, so he is flying at the moment.
Tardok has reeled in his teammate a little bit. He's within half a second now. O'Reilly's still comfortable with a couple of seconds in hand out front, but as I say, Tardok's just started to reel stealth in a little bit, and Clouden can still see them, but he's probably looking in his mirror more than he's looking forward, to be honest, because Will Freeman is all over the back of him like a cheap suit at the moment. As they come into the last corner, and that McLaren, you can see the back end switching from side to side as Clouden just holding on to it, get the power down in the traction zone and get flat scat. It's a very interesting turn one. It's downhill. You hit the brakes, I do, about the 100-metre board, and down through the gears. Try and pick up the apex of a corner that's dropping away from you. It's a very tricky turn one here, Matt, isn't it?
It is a very tricky turn one. You take too much on towards the curb, you kind of hit like a little bump as the car bottoms out. You don't make the curb, you lose a lot of time going deep. One thing I'm just going to note here, Kelly, a bit of an observation. Every time Friedman gets onto the back of Jamal, ball that moment there for Dan gains on Friedman and Clouden. Without Friedman putting Clouden under too much pressure, Dan just seems to get closer to them. The minute Friedman loses a couple of attempts, and it is only a couple of attempts to Clouden, Dan loses a lot of time to the two in front. So
what are you saying? You thinking that he's struggling in dirty air when he gets close to them?
I do. I think because Friedman's not putting moves on Clouden where Clouden's having to drive overly defensive, So they're not fighting to lose time. But it does seem that when Dan just gets a little bit closer, he seems to either copy a mistake that Friedman might make, run a little deep, have a little twitch, have a little slide, whatever it may be. But there's something not quite right. Dan's got better pace in this. We've seen in testing all week. But Dan just, every time he gets closer to these two, ends up, look, he's back over a second behind. But then watch as Friedman gets closer to attack Jamal. Dan will be right within about 7/10.
I think, all things being equal, if they are in clear air, that Friedman would probably be pulling away from Dan. I think he's just got better pace, to be honest. Or, as I said, maybe you're quite right. Maybe he's struggling in the dirty air. I tell you what, Tardok is all over his teammate now. Within a couple of tenths as they come back onto the start-finish straight for the 8th time, and looking to line his teammate up as they goes to the inside, hits the brakes. And I think his teammate's given him that one. He didn't fight that too hard, and Tardok moves up into second place.
Yeah, it would have been a bit embarrassing if you'd have taken your teammate out live on stream.
Imagine that.
Evening, Kieran Argent.
Evening, Sutty.
Yeah. Kieran did it last night to Monkey Boy. That's why I said good evening.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
It was a funny one. Kelseth.
Worth going back and watching at some point.
It is worth going back and watching. Where Lexi and PM Motorsport brought to you all the action of last night's race. Kelseth, though, on the back of Gary. Hoffer and Matt Wright's nearly with these two. Gary's 11 second off the back of Skunky. That just shows to me how much Gary is struggling in that Lexus. Now, Friedman's dropped off the back of clouding a little bit. Dan's still around that second marker. Patrick Ledger's within 4 tenths of Ben. Ben's not had a stronger night tonight.
No, he hasn't. He's not moving forward too quickly. In fact, he's being dropped from the others, and he's gone backwards in this race. I don't know if he's got a bit of damage. We haven't heard from his dad tonight, actually.
We haven't heard from
Chris
his dad.
in the chat. Chris is normally in the chat, and he can usually give us an insight into what's going on. So, Chris, if you're there, firstly say hello. I'm on board with Ben now, and he was quite scruffy in the Schumacher S's then, and maybe I don't know. I didn't see any first lap incidents, but maybe he's had a bit of a knock and is carrying some damage, but he doesn't seem to be reeling Mike in, that's for sure.
He doesn't at all, as Gary gets a bit of a poor run out the Schumacher S as Kalsef now goes to the outside line for the next left-hand bend. He's going to try and go around the outside of Gary Leach. They just rub doors a little bit. Gary has a twitch on exit. That's going to give Kalsef the run up the inside for the next part. Now Kalsef gets the move done, and Gary will come under pressure from the Bentley. And to quote Kieran Argent last night, thank you Monkey Boy, got to run was the quote that Kieran used to Monkey Boy.
Yeah, I've had one of them.
Yeah, got to run, and then it didn't really go according to... No, sorry, got to run was when he sent it on Monkey Boy. Gary's made a mistake at the chicane, Hoffer's through. Matt Wright, I feel, will get past as well. Yes, he does. Matt Wright's through as well. Got to run was the quote when he lunged on Monkey Boy and passed him. When he lunged and hit him, there was no quote. There was nothing.
Well, there we go. If you want to watch that action, as I said, it's all available to watch on YouTube, as well as all the classic races and the Nürburgring 24 from nearly 4 years ago. And we're doing it again in a couple of weeks' time. Get involved at Cancer Research. Get involved. I want $2.5 this time, Matt. $2.5 grand.
That'd be nice. Be absolutely nice. Be really good.
Yeah.
Dan has lost a lot of time to Will Friedman over this first section. Carlos has gained on Dan Davis a little bit, so that Porsche may be just going through a phase look gap up to 1.6 seconds. While this is going on, though, they are all still gapping Overtaker, and Overtaker's being caught by McGowan and Mike now.
Yes, I was just going to say that Overtaker really seems to be struggling tonight. He doesn't seem to have that ultimate pace, and he's dropping away from these guys. Usually he's right with Dan. He's almost like Overtaker and Dan, almost like shadows of each other, aren't they? They always seem to be on the same part of track together, but not tonight. For whatever reason, Overtaker not going forward. It's a funny old one tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a strange one, you know. Let's see what's going to happen. 1.6 seconds O'Reilly to Tardock. They're fighting for the GT4 championship as well. They're in a good fight for that, and O'Reilly is really looking interested on winning his first race of the pro season at the moment, and that'll be a great win, I think, for Kieran O'Reilly in that Honda. Just, you know, we've said all season that him and Dan have been the two to take the fight to the Fords. I think O'Reilly's more taking the fight to the Fords at this point than Dan.
Be interested, Dan, on the British tracks. That'll be interesting. You know, we've got we
had Silverstone, didn't we? You know, and then we've got Alton and Donington coming up. And Dan always seems to go well on British circuits.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if he's in the mix there. I mean, the championship's gone for him this year.
I think Alton could be a good shout.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
Alton,
not really.
We know how narrow Alton is, and how hard it is to overtake. If Dan's got pace and he puts it high up the grid, the reverse grid race will be very interesting at Alton.
I think as well, that Ford Mustang is going to be too big for Alton. Not a lot of straights for it to use its overall power. It's not going to reach its top speed, as you know, because the straights are very short there, aren't they, at Alton Park?
Alton I think is a very difficult track to drive in a GT3. I've never been a fan of driving it in the GT3 car. I always found it too much going on, too hectic for my old and decrepit brain to take it all in fast enough. But in GT4, I thoroughly enjoy driving it. Yeah, you know, because just that little extra, you know, smaller car, less power, I think just suits the track a lot better. You know, so that'll be an interesting one. The reverse grid at Alton Park. Not that you should miss any single race on Simplay, but I would not miss that one. Pro-Am and GT4 for that matter. Yeah,
100%. I think that's going to be. I think GT4 could be the real standout race of that week, as you've just said there. We're currently watching Mike Matthews gain on Ian McGowan. Just going to look. Overtaker's pulled the gap. He's pulled ahead of McGowan by about a second and gained nearly a second on Carlos and Dan. McGowan's had a big wiggle a moment. And I think Mike
must
did
know
as
who
well
we're
through the
talking about.
chicane. Carlos has gained on Dan. That's within half a second now. I think the Mustang I think we could really see the Mustang, by the way, struggle at Alton Park. It's not going to be a good track for it at all. And I think that could be really McLaren, Honda, Porsche, and Aston at its finest.
Absolutely. Tardock is reeling O'Reilly in a little bit. He's got the gap down to 1.2 now. What about Donny? Do you think again that the Mustang will struggle at Donny?
I think because he's a little wider and less bumpy, I think the Mustang may come. Yes, the straights aren't there at Donny, are they? As well, Donny's on
the Simplay
straight and the Saw straight.
Yeah.
The two by the hairpin. Coming down to the Melbourne loop and then back up to the final hairpin. I think the Ford will go better at Donington than Alton, but I still think, McLaren, Aston are probably the better car there. Maybe Porsche, Honda. It's going to be difficult. I think Ford could dominate next week. Red Bull Ring, a lot of straights.
Yeah.
And
simple
I think
track as well, isn't it?
9 corners.
And better headlights, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the Ford could dominate next week. And then what's in between? Watkins Glen. Again, Watkins Glen, bar the run up the S's in towards the inner loop, the bus stop chicane. That could be where the Ford could do something. But, again, I fancy the Porsche and the Honda, McLaren and Aston around there.
Watkins, I'm going to... sorry, Pro-Am guys, you'll see me again at Watkins because I'm racing Watkins Glen. I love that track. It's got some lovely cambered corners and flows, the undulation up and down the corners. I think it runs like a roller coaster. It's great fun, and I think there's going to be some good racing there.
Yeah, me too.
Like all season, as I said.
Yeah, all season has been brilliant. It's been fantastic. We're just going to drop down to Calseth and Hoffer there within half a second of each other. Matt Wright's a little behind. Then Gary Leach just struggling there. Carlos 9/10 off the back of Dan. Mike's within half a second as well of Ian McGowan. I'm going to stick with that Bentley Ferrari fight. That's the closest fight we have on track at the moment. Just going to stick with this all the time being.
I'm keeping an eye on the leaders as Tardock has again taken another couple of tenths out of O'Reilly. He's nearly under a second now.
On the timing screen in front of me here, dude, the last lap was 3 tenths faster than O'Reilly. The lap before was near somewhat of 6-7 tenths of a second. So he is starting to take a bit of a chunk out of O'Reilly. The problem you have is each car will kind of go through a different phase, and I can see the litres of fuel left in everybody's car. I'm not going to give anything away on stream in case people are listening, so that one team can get the upper hand over another.
Yeah.
But it makes for interesting reading at the moment in that sense. Pit window opens, by the way, in 52 seconds. So
that could change things.
I'm reckoning, the back half of this field, these back four especially of Calseth, Hoffer, Matt Wright and Gary Leach, they could all pit this lap.
And do you think they're going to do that? Who's going to be the first to blink? I
think if Matt Wright's got damage...
Yeah.
Possibly getting. You've got nothing to lose in that position you're in. You've got everything to gain.
Absolutely, that's so true. So they might take a risk.
24 seconds. Early. Do you know what? Just looking at it here, there's a few drivers that could get in because the pit lane is quite the way down. You come down here, the pit limiter is quite the way down at the moment. So somebody could take a little punt on coming in to the pit lane if they've worked it out right. I don't think anybody's going to, because what they've got to remember, you've got to be in the pits. Right, there we go. That's great strategy, I think, from Ben. You've got to be in the pits before as the window opens. That is not on the pit road, that is in the pit lane. So all that entry road into the pits, fine. It's the minute you cross that little board. Hoffer's also in. Gary is coming in as well. So I like that. It's opened up, get yourself in. Why not? Now, Sylph is coming under pressure from Jamal Clouden. That gap's down to a second. Jamal has dropped Will Friedman.
He has, hasn't he? By quite some gap now.
We said this last week, Kelly. The Porsche both of them seem to die a little bit and struggle in the second race. Are we at that stage of the race coming up to the pit stops where Dan's now 1.6 behind Friedman? Yes, he's pulled away from Carlos, but Friedman's dramatically dropped off the back of Clouden. Is this Clouden upping his pace, or is this the Porsche once again going through a phase where it's just starting to struggle?
Well, Clouden is real still thin, but has he done that now because he's concentrated forward and not looking in his mirrors? He's not got the pressure of Friedman. Like a famous commentator said, you're either taking pressure or giving pressure. And with the pressure off from behind, has this given Clouden the opportunity to up his time? I'm going to have a look at his times a minute while you're...
his last lap was a 54.3. He was 0.6 quicker than Sylph. And only 0.2 quicker than Friedman, so something would suggest that something's happened to Friedman on a previous lap. Just to state, by the way, the top 5 have all set their best laps in the 53s as Sylph comes into the pits. So this now getting a little interesting in terms of the pit runners. We're just going on the helicam. His overtaker struggling through the chicane. And again cuts the pit entry from overtaker there. Mike Matthews also into the pits. Drivers have to be remembered. You cannot cross that red bit. It is the white line before it goes red. So that is unfortunate. So we'll see if the bottom 2 cross. Tardock is in. So it's O'Reilly from Clouden, from Friedman from Dan, from Carlos, McGowan, Ledger, Cal, Seth, Wright, because they both stay out and they will get past everybody really out there. Ben Rook, who was he behind? He was behind Patrick Ledger. Ledger's not yet pitted. So let's see where Ben is compared to Mike Matthews and Skunky. So I believe Skunky and Mike was both ahead of Ledger. So Ben's coming into... so Ben's coming into the 2 corners now before the back straight. It's 60 seconds for a tyre change with no damage. Perfect pit stops. Tardock's done. He's on his way out. You know he's done. His little orange marker's gone green. He's off the limiter now because the P's gone. Sylph is done. He's off the limiter. Overtaker's done.
Ben's coming up to the last chicane now and into the last corner. So obviously these guys... he was running in about... He was running in about, what was he, 10th or 12th or something around that.
I think he was 12th.
12th the back end. So Mike's done. Where has Mike come out? Mike is now exiting the pits. Ben's not going to get Mike. Mike
get Skunky though.
He might get. He might.
He has. Yeah.
He's done Skunky. So So all in all, not a bad strategy to go in first.
Go in as it opened. O'Reilly's coming in straight into the pit road. He put a lap on Gary Leach. That'll release Gary Leach. Jamal Clouden will stay out. Will Friedman will come in. What about Dan Davis? He's going to stay out. Carlos going to stay out.
Different ideas on strategy for these people, whatever's comfortable. So Clouden now is now leading this race. Let's see if he can get his head down and get some clean air. Dan now in he's in second. On my screen it says third, but O'Reilly's in the pits. Of course these guys haven't stopped yet, and Carlos not a million miles away from Dan, and
that gap's opened up to Dan though, so Dan's extended that gap still.
It has a bit. It'd be interesting to see where Friedman comes out to Dan, doesn't it? Because they were once it all it
was about 1.6 Friedman to Dan before the pit stops.
It was, so we'll see if Dan going longer can make the difference.
Just looking at Dan's pace, by the way, last lap to Clouden. Clouden of 54.4, Dan Davis of 55.1. So struggling at the moment it seems.
Friedman's is down and he's off the limiter now. Where does that put him?
Tardock round the outside of O'Reilly at turn 1. So the undercut for Tardock has worked an absolute treat, and Tardock gained that second in the pit lane and has got past Kieran O'Reilly halfway through the race, and Tardock takes the lead.
Yes, indeed, good strategy there from Tardock, as you say, made up that second in the pit, in the pits, and that could be just stopping on your marks well, and doing all the things you do to make a good pit stop, making sure that you get the absolute maximum on the pit entry, and whichever way he's done it, Tardock is net leader now.
Yep, he is indeed. Where did Will Friedman come? Did he jump Sylph? No, he did not, but he's a bit closer to Sylph. I think Clouden may have a chance of jumping him here. Got to keep our eyes now on O'Reilly and Tardock then. This could be crucial for the race if O'Reilly wants to try and win his first GT3 win of the season. Clouden is now in. Dan will take the lead of this race. Plenty of time for Dan to do an extra lap, and I think he may only be able to get one at a push two in before the pit window closes.
He could run the gauntlet with 2, I think, but I don't know, should comfortably. I mean, we got 4 minutes left, so he could comfortably do 2.
Yeah.
Realistically, doing 55. So, but will he? He's, as you say, he's out in front at the moment. Clouden, I'm interested to see where Clouden comes out. Tardok, as we say, is net leader at the moment. He's now coming up to the last chicane, and he's got O'Reilly just dropped off 3/4 of a second. I thought O'Reilly might give him a bit of a run on warmer tyres, but Tardok's straight on it. Clouden is still on his jacks at the moment. He hasn't dropped off his jacks, so and now he has. Now. Yeah,
and here comes Will Friedman. Friedman's on the start finish straight, so I think Friedman's going to get the jump on Clouden. He's off the limiter, is Jamal, but where is Will Friedman? Where is Jamal? Clouden well in front, and in fact Clouden, look, on the back of Sylph nearly, as he goes very deep at turn 1. That could bring Will Friedman in. No, Will Friedman just a little too far back. So a decent start from Clouden.
Yes, indeed. It's good stop from him, absolutely. So we're just waiting now. Who are we waiting on? Matt Wright. Kelsick is in the pits. Yeah. So Matt Wright and Dan are the last ones to pit. And
Jamal's weaving here, Kelly. Just out of turn, just into turn 5. Jamal weaving. And clearly trying to get them tyres up to temperature as quick as possible. I'd imagine they'd come into temperature pretty quick around here, especially at this sort of section of the circuit where you're going to come through a couple of corners a little quickly. And temperature's 24. Dan goes through again.
Last one.
Right.
It's very long.
Yeah. Well, 60 seconds is what he loses. He's got to pit the end of this lap. One more's too late. He's got to pit the end of this one.
Yeah, this end of this lap, he's got to come in because he's going to run out of time. But Dan's normally well aware of these things. So that must be his strategy. We'll see how it does. I don't know if he's been lighting up the timing screens just at the moment with this run. That's what he would need to do to make this really work for him. But
I tell you who's come out of the pits brilliantly. So Ben jumped Ledger and Skunky. He's on the back of McGowan. Mike jumped McGowan. He's 5 seconds in front of Ian McGowan. So Mike Matthews there, heck of a stop. Matt Wright, Dan's where's Dan?
Dan is where is Dan? Dan is at the bottom hairpin, just coming up to the Schumacher.
Okay, so Matt Wright come in. Oh, I thought the pit window was about to close. I thought Dan had gone through to do another lap. That would have been catastrophic.
No, he's just coming up just through the Schumacher S's, and he's coming up behind to lap.
That's Gary
Leach. Yeah, hopefully I think Gary will he'll either jump out of the way or he'll be clear out of the way when Dan pits.
Great four-way fight though here. Ian McGowan, Patrick Ledger, Ben Ruck and Skunky at the minute as Patrick Ledger looks up the inside of Ben. Bit of contact made. Skunky might drive around the outside of the pair of them. He doesn't at the moment. Looks to the inside on Ledger. Can't do it there. So Dan now will have to pit. 41 seconds. Plenty of time to get on that limiter, and into the pits comes Dan Davis. Matt Wright is Patrick Ledger now has a moment. Did he get a tap from Skunky? I believe he may have done. Matt Wright jumps behind Kalsef but ahead of Hoffer, so he jumps Hoffer in the pits. So now then, Dan Davis, how good's your pit stop? Will you change the tyres for an extra 5 seconds? What are you going to do here? Because this is going to be a crucial stage of his race to try and make up a couple of places. Where was Dan? So it was O'Reilly, Tardok, Sylph, Clouden, Friedman, Dan. So Dan was 6th before the pit stop started. Where will he be as he comes out?
Yeah, he's quite a way down the pit lane. He looks like he's got the second or the third garage by the looks of it. So it'll be a quick out on the way out. So we'll see where he comes out. He was behind Will Friedman when this all started, and but behind him by
about 2 seconds, I think it was.
Yeah, about 2 seconds. So we'll see how this pans out. Chat in the chat at the moment. These guys talking about the Porsches in the chat, and the Porsche's a funny old car, isn't it? I mean, it's a.
Will Friedman's getting a run on Clouden. Sorry, Kelly, because Dan Davis has jumped Clouden and Friedman as Friedman looks to the outside, looking for the up and under on Jamal Clouden at turn 1. Gets a run to the outside, maybe for 2, but Dan Davis has jumped Clouden by a good margin as well. Yeah. overcut working well for Dan Davis, and he's not a million miles off the back himself. The one thing for Dan, maybe, he wants to hope that he can maintain this pace to stay in front of these two.
Absolutely, and that's why he's a multiple champion, because he does stuff like that. Great from Daniel, made himself 2 places in the pit stops, and as I said in the chatting about the Porsche. Problem with the Porsche is it's an overgrown Beetle, and it's got that big weight in the back of it, like a huge pendulum, and it's one of those stick with it stories, the 911, isn't it? You know what I mean? They just keep engineering it until the bad idea works, you know. So but Dan doing his best with it, that's for certain sure. Friedman all over the back of Clouden again looking in his mirrors for Friedman, really, isn't he?
He is at the moment, and this was the story early on in the race, except Dan was the one chasing these two. It's now these two chasing Dan at the moment. Overtaker still in that no man's land. Look, 4 seconds. I tell you what, they've all jumped Carlos quite the margin as well, haven't they, since the pit stops?
Carlos a long way back. He had Dan in sight before the round of pit stops.
Again, about a second and a half to Dan, wasn't he, I think, before the pit stops?
And now he's 6 seconds back from Will Friedman, who's still on the back of Clouden. And Dan's gapped Clouden a little bit, but not pulling away at a rate of knots, as Dan taken a lot of curb on the exit of the chicane, and that's brought Clouden right in. Dan takes a couple of stabs at the apex in the last corner as well. Clouden might just get a run on Dan into this, and Friedman's got to be asking himself that this might be an opportunity to do something. Dan goes defensive, takes the inside line. Friedman's going down the inside. He gets hard on the brakes. Dan locks the front wheels, gets hit by Clouden. I haven't seen any more because no, Dan managed to recover. He got a slight, Dan's front wheel locked. I saw it lock and had a little tap from Clouden, and put Dan on the back foot a little bit, as he's got Friedman all over him now. It's Battle of the Beatles as Clouden is now lost out on this, as these two start to pull away from him a little bit.
Yeah, they do, and Will Friedman putting Dan Davis under a lot of pressure, and you said it there that Friedman could capitalise. He made that lunge, did Friedman into turn 1. I wonder if Dan just opened his steering up a little bit, thinking if Friedman misses his brakes just a little margin. Clouden definitely tapped the rear though, but Clouden now Friedman now ahead of Clouden, putting Dan under pressure. That all came from Dan getting a poor run out of the chicane though at the end of the lap, Kelly.
Yep, absolutely. We said about it earlier. You get a bad run out of that last corner and you're under pressure. I didn't think Friedman was going to slow it down before he got to the back of Dan. He was getting ever closer and I thought he was going to run right into the back of Dan, but not the case. Again, I don't think Dan's as comfortable. Oh, Clouden round the outside of Friedman. What is that all about? Has he done it? Has he got it done?
I think he has, because he might not have. Friedman gets the traction zone out. We went on the cockpit view of Friedman's car, and all of a sudden seen a McLaren come steaming round the outside of him, but it didn't work for Jamal Clouden there. A day late, $1 short on the brakes, and that's just allowed Dan again here, by the way, to get away. Rob Smith saying, did Dan gain the time by not taking tyres? That would be the interesting call, and if Dan hasn't taken tyres, that could be a brave call, because I think it won't work. These temperatures, this track, I don't think that's good. I think Dan may be in trouble.
If that's the case, we don't know. But yeah, it fits the theory, and Dan does look a little bit leery in that Porsche at the moment. Clouden, I mean, that move from Clouden, if he had pulled that off, that would have been genius.
It would have been fantastic,
Yeah, absolutely. He just came from nowhere. I was on board with him. He came from nowhere and went round the outside. But Friedman saw him coming and reacted accordingly. This is a good scrap. This is
I'll tell you what, Kelly, there's another good scrap for 10th with Ian McGowan, Ben Ruck, Patrick Ledger and Skunky's just dropped off the back a little bit, and this has been a good scrap raging on for a while now as well. I keep flicking between the two sort of sets of cars who's in this thick fight at the moment, but Will Friedman, can he get the run down towards the Dunlop hairpin? Just starting to put a bit of daylight between himself and Clouden, and he's kind of, I don't want to say he's pushing Dan forward, but he did this with Jamal when Dan was catching them. He'd kind of almost like be in that slipstream of Jamal, not close enough to mount an attack, make a move, but sort of saying to Jamal, come on, because Dan's catching. He now seems to be doing the same with Dan. Push now, mate, because we've got Jamal with us. Dan drops the wheel in the gravel at the Schumacher S's. This could give Friedman a little bit of momentum. Is he going to look for the lunge? No, he's not.
Again, I'm on board with Clouden. He was very late on the brakes there. Had to take slight avoiding action. I think he thought he was going to... Dan properly on the gravel this time. That's given Freeman the run, and Clouden's got to run down the inside. Dan gives him just enough space to take through on the inside. So, again, you put a wheel on the gravel, it costs you 2 places.
Yeah.
So Dan's struggling again. He's just struggling to keep that car in a straight line, isn't he? Or on the black stuff.
Well, if he didn't take the tyres, that will maybe explain why he's possibly
yeah.
struggling. We'll see what Dan does now. O'Reilly's got within 3/10 of Tardock, so O'Reilly's now come to play here. So we've got a few fights on our hand, last 18 minutes of this race, and things are just getting a little bit exciting. We'll keep our eyes on these gaps. McGowan doing a great job to fend off that of Ben Rook and Patrick Ledger. Skunky's dropped off the back of these two a little bit. But McGowan 7.8 behind Mike now. Mike 7.7 behind Overtaker. Carlos was 6 seconds behind a few laps ago on Dan, Freeman and Clouden. Yeah. He's now 2.7. So that's interesting to see as well. This is on board with Kieran O'Reilly though at the moment. Listen to the whistle of the NSX coming through turns 5 and 6. It's not broken, no, not at all.
No, you know what that is, don't you? That's the grass catcher.
Yeah.
The air running through the grass catcher, that is.
Yeah, I saw them fitting the blades on Friday last week. But O'Reilly here, he was over a second behind Tardock. He's done well to bring the gap back down.
Yes, he has indeed, and I'm impressed with Carlos. I mean, these guys in front, were they scrapping, or has Carlos just found some pace? And Dan not staying close to these two in front. What Dan wants to be hoping now is they have a little bit of handbags and take each other out towards the end of this race, because I don't think he's got the ultimate pace on the two in front of him, that's for sure.
I think Rob Smith's potentially right, I don't think Dan may be taking tyres, because he's all of it. Rob Smith said, did Dan gain the time in the pits by not taking the tyres? Well, he's now in a lap. He's gone to 1.3 seconds behind. So, yeah.
Yes, we'll find out at some point. But O'Reilly...
what's happened back here? Sorry, Kelly. Ian McGowan has now got Skunky behind him. Patrick Ledger's remained where he was, but Ben is 6 seconds behind them all. So something has happened down in this little pack, maybe, because all of a sudden Ben's dropped to 6 seconds behind everybody in that fight. And Freeman's still got Clouden there. O'Reilly still with Tardock. Well, let's wait and I'm sure we'll find out later on in the race. Dan's 1.8 behind now, and as they come across the line, get back down to 1.6. Dan has a better last sector, but he's just losing too much time to the cars in front.
What can you do? Just kind of keep it on the black stuff and take it home, I suppose. And 6 points, 6 place points is better than no place points. So that might be the case. But Clouden's still looking racy. This one isn't over between these two.
No, I don't think it is either. I think we've also got to keep our eyes on O'Reilly and Tardock. I don't think that one's done by any stretch of the imagination. Gap opened up to 8/10. I've just seen them come through turn 7. O'Reilly's closer than 8/10, that looks like to me. Ledger has got ahead of Skunky. Skunky's trying to fight this one back. Ben's got the gap back down to 5.8. Not the night for Ben. Ben struggled tonight, I think.
Absolutely, he's been electric this year and been there and thereabouts every race, hasn't he? With some really strong results, and as I said, been the best of the rest really. But you're right, tonight just hasn't panned out his night, has it?
No, it hasn't. Tonight we're going to keep our eyes on this Ledger Skunky fight for the time being. Closest fight on the track.
Yes, indeed. Next week we go to Red Bull, don't we? Red Bull for a night race, and there is talk of rain around. If you didn't hear us talking about that should open things up. It'll probably rain for GT4 and Pro-Am, and probably be lovely for Pros.
Probably will. Ledger there, Kelly. Little wiggle mid-corner at the Dunlop hairpin. That's allowed Skunky to get through and to pull away. Dan at 2.7 now off the back of Clouden. And he's got Carlos within 1.1. Carlos is coming.
Yes, indeed. Dan was obviously fighting that position. He made a great pit strategy and jumped the pair of them, but couldn't maintain it. We will find out if he took tyres. I'll be very surprised if he didn't take tyres. It's a bit too warm not to take tyres over an hour race, but again, he's the one who's a multiple champion, not me.
I think this is the difficult thing. Clarball's just said why the 25 with the 25-second pit strategy. There's no point taking tyres just a one-start race now. I disagree with that. I think that the extra 5 seconds you can lose in this final stage of the race. If Dan didn't take tyres, he's losing that 5 seconds at this stage of this race. Whereas I feel if you go back to last season's format, there isn't the 25-second pit stop. You run that risk of, do you run the tyres for the hour? Because you either half and half the fuel and add 18, 15 seconds of fuel, or you go in, put 1 litre in, 3 seconds, up, down, gone. You maybe then think, I'll take tyres, cost a 30-second pit stop, but lose 27 seconds to your rival. With this, it's 5 seconds. So I think taking tyres is a little bit more probable with this strategy.
I think it's, yeah, absolutely. I think generally it gives another element to what the driver's got to think about. And if he can make it work, and Dan might think to himself, I can make this work on these tyres. I took tyres last week in the night race and wish I hadn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they would have gone the distance in the cold conditions. But we're 24 degrees track temperature, and it's sunny mostly. I don't think the tyres would last. But again, as I said, what you think you can do and what you're, it could have been an absolute genius move.
Oh, that's a lovely move from Carlos. Bit of hip and shoulder there between Carlos and Dan Davis. Dan, I think, giving him a flash of lights. I'm not sure if that's just them flickering on my screen or if I think it's just them flickering. So ignore me there. Dan didn't flash the lights, but a great move from Carlos there. Door just left open, and it was a Mustang-sized gap. So Dan down to 7th place. Carlos moves up to P6, and this, I think, is the benefit of that. Changing tyres. We'll see now what Dan can do with Carlos. Overtaker 7 seconds back. So let's see that gap in the next 12 and a half minutes.
It's looking like damage limitation now for Dan. Clouden again, still close. He's within half a second of Friedman, but just can't find either enough pace or an opportunity to get this done. They're both catching Silth quite quickly,
He's not had out and out pace, has he, tonight?
No, a couple of the Mustangs are struggling here tonight. Overtaker, Silth, Carlos seems to have pace, not have pace. It seems to be quite inconsistent for the Mustangs tonight.
Rob Smith's just said that there's no rain around. I've just decided that I'm going to go and check the weather. Yeah, they must know that Simplay is coming, so all the rain and snow has now gone. We've not had a proper wet race for a good while.
Oh, we need some snow as well. That would certainly mix it up, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What a shame. Rain looks like it's gone. O'Reilly's still within 7/10 of Tordock. That's going to be an interesting fight to keep our eyes on to the end. Clouden still within half a second here. Dan still within 6/10 to Carlos. I think that's a bit bigger than 6/10 now looking at that. And it will update through Sector 2. Carlos to Clouden is now 5-7. Yep, Dan's over a second behind. Dan's definitely not taking tyres here for me. Has to be.
Well, we will find out at some point when we chat to Daniel, and we'll try and let you know. Probably not before the end of this stream, but yeah, it's looking like that, isn't it? His pace has dropped right off now, and he's got no tools left to fight with.
Well, Dan's lapping now late 55s, nearly into the 56s. Overtaker last lap was half a second quicker. We'll see what it was on lap 25 as the timing screen updates. There we go. Dan a 56.1, Overtaker a 54.6. So Dan has lost a second and a half there.
When you're losing a second and a half, it doesn't take long for the car 5 seconds behind to be right on you. And we've still got 10 minutes of this race to go, so we've still got we've got 5 or so laps, haven't we, basically? So so Dan could be in trouble again for another position.
A second and a half difference. Dan's not really made a mistake last lap. That's got to be tyres. Got to be. Dan hasn't taken it, surely.
Yeah, maybe so.
Leaders, by the way, 54.1s. They're lapping. Last time round, incredible pace here tonight. And O'Reilly was 900ths quicker than Tordock last time around. So paper thin margins between the two of them out front at the moment. But it is fantastic. Also, Jamal and Friedman, 54.2s. 3/10 quicker than Silf last lap. 3.4 behind. They're going to need to go a bit more than 3/10 to gain on Silf. That is for sure. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. Ben lapping in the 54s. It was his best lap of the race last time around, so that is interesting from Ben. Gary's best lap, Dan in the 56s. That just shows how much Gary is struggling at the moment.
Well, yeah. I mean, you say the 56s. I mean, I went out and did a bit of practice. Was pretty chuffed that I put it in the mid 57s. So that was my best lap. That was.
Gary's last lap was a 58.3. So there you go.
That's a bit grim, But poor old Gary struggling in that Lexus, as we said. Hopefully he'll. If he tried, and I know he's a busy man with a busy life, and some days you have to tell him which way to turn out of the pits because he doesn't even know what track he's at. He rocks up and he does it. And sometimes that pans out, and sometimes it doesn't. But imagine if, as Gary says, if he put the sweat into it, and put the work in, I think he'd still be a contender.
There we go. Dan's just popped in a better lap time, a 55.0 last time round. Overtaker with a 56.3. So Dan's recuperated that second and a half pretty much that he lost the lap before to put the gap back up to 7 seconds. Patrick Ledger on the back of Skunky. Let's just check this one out. In fact, no, let's go to the leaders. That was under a tenth. And they are very close into the Schumacher crosses. Is this where the Honda's just a little bit stronger maybe than the Ford at this stage of the race then? So O'Reilly putting pressure on now. Patrick Ledger trying to put pressure back on Skunky. We've got Jamal trying to keep the pressure on Will, but I just feel that Will's creeping out in front. But Tordok got to be looking behind him at that Honda at the moment.
Yeah, it's big in his mirror, that's for certain. Sure, as once again O'Reilly pulls him in. He dropped back a little bit for the last couple of laps, but now he's mounting a charge again on Tardok. Is this Tardok starting to struggle? Is the Mustang
possibly
going off a bit, or is O'Reilly finding some extra pace at this late stage in the race? Got 7 minutes to get it done. Let's face it, he's only got to lead the last lap or the last corner.
Yeah, exactly. Rob, we sadly can't change the time of the pit stops. It is what it is. We can only turn it so it's not 25 seconds and you can splash and dash, or it is 25 seconds. That's the way it works here. Yeah.
Imagine if you could. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
That'd be brilliant. Brilliant, I think.
Yeah. So many things that we could make it better if we just come on guys, listen to what we're saying to you and design the game that we want.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That's what I like about iRacing. At times you can limit the capacity of what fuel they can have in the tank.
Yeah.
So for example, you could say to them, right, you can have 51% of your fuel tank available to you, so you can you have to pit around that halfway stage of the race unless you fuel save and try and extend and blah blah blah. And I kind of like that feature because it gives you just different options what you can do with fuel and with tyres and whatever.
Absolutely, and the ultimate sim game isn't there yet, but I believe iRacer is very, very good. I've never played it. I don't have a gaming PC, although I do have a gaming laptop, but it's for another use, and so I haven't played it, but I hear it's very good. But we're still waiting for the console-based ultimate sim game, which isn't there yet. I always said that my business plan, if I went on The Apprentice, was a ultimate sim game for the console. That ultimate one that also focuses on broadcast. So we can have a studio type option to be able to watch all the drivers. We only see pretty much what you guys are seeing at home. We have to pick the cameras, yes, but we can only go by timings to what we think is going to be a good battle. So that option would be fantastic. But anyway, 5 minutes left of this race and we've got what we got, so we've got to go with it. And O'Reilly Tardok just keeping O'Reilly in check, really, just doing exactly what he needs to do just to keep him behind. O'Reilly not looking to
Gary Leach is back in the pits, Kelly, again. Yeah, back in the pits for Gary Leach, so I'm not sure why.
Stop for a cup of tea.
Patrick Ledger's got past Skunky though, I'm noticing. Dan's still 7 seconds out of Overtake, so Overtake's not making any inroads. Maybe Taker didn't take tyres. Carlos 8 seconds behind Clouden, but 2.5 ahead of Dan. It's really O'Reilly and Tarlock and Clouden and Friedman that's kind of the fights now, isn't it? That's what we've got to watch. We've lost another driver I don't know when, but I believe that was we've lost Calseth on the last lap.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure what's happened there. So he has got 3/4 distance, will score points for that penultimate place.
Yeah.
But it is a retirement, sadly, and obviously we do not like retirements.
We don't like retirements. Retirements are bad, but sometimes there is a reason. But so we won't stone him at dawn just yet. But yeah, we don't like retirements because we're trying to bring you a show, and it's all about the show. So, and that's what we're trying to bring you. And talking about a great show, and just as we got a couple of minutes before the end of the race, and we won't miss the end of the race this time.
Oh, O'Reilly. Sorry, Kelly, before you get on to what you're saying, O'Reilly's now a second behind. So, clear.
Just dropped off a bit.
Yeah, clear moment there. Resume.
Thank you. Just to remind everyone watching that we are doing a 24-hour of the Nordschleife. Yes, we are completely Looney Tunes, but we're doing it for a great cause, which is cancer research. Like we did before, nearly 4 years to the day of the event, we went round the Nordschleife for 24 hours. We had a great time. We had some laughs, we had some emotional moments, and we raised a lot of money for cancer research. £1,200 last time. I want to double that. Oh, as O'Reilly gets a little bit squiggly out of the corner. I want to double it. I want £2,500 that weekend. Matt, 24 hours of the Nordschleife. If you want to get involved, make a donation. If you want to get involved, be a driver, take on the ring.
Be a commentator.
Be a commentator. Come and join us in the box, and you can sit in my chair for half an hour if you like, and come and have a chit chat with us. Chat all things motorsport, and we'll get through endless subjects in that.
And it's a 24-hour event as well, so any kind of waffle will be happening.
Any waffle. And you think we can waffle on a Thursday night? You wait till we get started in depth on a 24. There's always things to chat about. I sadly won't be able to make it for the full 24 hours, although we did last time, and so did Matt, and so did Dan, and a few others. But whatever way you can get involved, we would be thankful. I'm setting a target of £2,500. If that's realistic or not, I'd like to think it is. Joe, I'd like to think it is. And let's push for that.
Can I just point out, we'd be 2 rounds into the British GT. Donington and Silverstone would have been done. So we can also talk about the Honda NSX leading in that championship. That's a bit of waffle.
Oh, deep joy. That might be the time where I take a nap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And I was going to say we're on to the last lap, but we don't know if we are. We haven't had confirmation from race control. I
believe we are. They're only down at turn 1 with 1:37 left, so I am going to keep our eyes on Tardock a little more. We're currently watching the fight of Patrick Ledger and Skunky at the moment. That's your closest fight on track. I think O'Reilly on this last lap is now too far back. A second, big margin to pull back. But I think Clouden and this is Skunky and Ledger, all the fights to keep our eyes on. I think these are the two battles that we can say, may make or break one of these drivers' days. Ledger and Skunky coming into the final chicane now. Well, Friedman's only 2 and a bit behind Sylph, Sylph has a couple of problems, and Friedman could be there. Rob Ramsell says Ferrari. Mate, the Honda was quicker than the Ferrari. We was both there, Rob. Come on. Let's not be silly.
No, all right, you two, behave.
Hey,
it was just
get
a
this.
Practice session. Just a practice.
Get this. What I loved about Ferrari, me and Rob both loved about Ferrari. My God, yes, the Honda went through about 3 sets of wheels. You should have seen the chunks and flat spots taken out of the Honda's tyres. I didn't know he had to brake so hard because it went so fast. But the Ferrari team turned up. It's an Italian truck, right? Even I'm having a go at him now. It was an Italian truck, full Italian team. The truck's bright yellow. All the boards that make the garage look nice, so that you don't just see brick walls, was red. The car's green.
Oh.
Right? Normally the Italians have got a nice colour scheme going, and everything matches, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. It was a shambles.
And I don't think they were very quick either, were they?
Slowest in the GT3 category.
And probably with the biggest budget and factory backed. Oh, as O'Reilly has spun it in the last chicane.
Oh, he has.
He's round, and there's that give. Yeah, there goes Sylph. Sylph is through. O'Reilly's turning it round on the grass.
Well, we're not going to miss this race. Tardock's coming to the end of it. We're going to try and catch up with what has happened there. Tardock wins with fastest lap. Sylph, I believe, is going to come home for second place. Yes, so Sylph gets second.
Round again.
Will Friedman is third. So O'Reilly span again. Where's Carlos? Here comes Carlos. Carlos. Freeman third, Clouden fourth. So on the final lap of the race, O'Reilly drops from second to fifth place. Your heart goes out for him. Carlos crosses the line sixth. Dan Davis seventh. Overtaker in a very strange and quiet race for Overtaker. P number 8. Mike Matthews, a quiet night for Mike Matthews, but he jumped Ian McGowan in the pits to keep hold, to gain P9, should I say. But Will Freeman and Jamal Clouden and Sylph, beneficiaries of a O'Reilly mistake at the end.
Absolutely, and it wasn't looking like O'Reilly was doing anything out of the ordinary. He wasn't having a crack at Tardock or whatever. It just seemed to spin, to be honest. I didn't think it looked like he was particularly out of shape.
Yeah.
You know, it just seemed to lose it, and that was and that cost him. What did that cost him? 3 places and a podium. I've gutted for him, absolutely. So dear oh dear.
It's gone from leading the race to, finishing P5. That's not the best of results here. And poor old Gary Leach has got to do an extra lap at the moment because he sadly didn't get lapped by Will Freeman. So Gary will get some screen time at the moment. I'm sure he'll appreciate a bit of time on screen here. Dan Davis down is 7th as I'm just inputting all my results. I can quickly double check the drop scores while we go. That was actually Ben's drop score of the season. That tells you how bad a night Ben had, because that was his drop score there. So not a good night at all for Ben.
Robert Ranzer in the chat saying the Honda only looked good when and licking up its wheels. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Yeah, but mate, I only think it looks good in the garden shed. Parked next to the generator.
It was terrible on its wheels. Absolutely terrible on its tyres. It was really bad. Really, really bad. But yeah, there you go.
Doesn't
there we
bode
go.
well for the season, does it? All jokes aside.
Don't need to bode well for the season, really, if you ask me. Right, we're going to be back in a couple of moments' time. So I'm just going to mute up, and we'll be back in the Discord chat for a chance to speak with some drivers on the podium.
Green light, give it all you can.
Lexus or Lambo for you, Dan?
I'm honestly looking at the McLaren on a Ferrari.
I'd got Lexus or Lambo for you, I reckon. Go and what you know
Dan!
you're strong in.
Did you change